Alrighty, so we are live on August 15th, 2020. It is movie night here at Movie Files. This has been one of the fun things I look forward to every single Saturday night, which are these watch-alongs with incredible guests. We watch some movies that we all can agree on is good, some movies that are maybe not so good, but the fun thing is we just have some fun discussions about the film, about things surrounding the film and things of that nature. And this is a big one because this is a fairly new movie that came out, I believe, February 7th, the day after my birthday. We're talking about Birds of Prey. I'm just calling it Birds of Prey. I'm not calling it the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn. And we'll talk about the title and everything as we get into this stream. But welcome everyone tonight to tonight's watch along for 2020's Birds of Prey. Very excited to watch this film with you all tonight and along with my amazing guests of panelists. But before we introduce them, if this is your first time watching one of my watch alongs, number one, welcome. If you're returning, thank you for returning. These are so much fun. Again, I look so forward to these every single Saturday. But for those that are new to the channel, for those that are new to watch alongs, essentially a watch along is where all of us, myself and my panel, and hopefully you all at home are either watching the physical copy. It is premiered on HBO Max and HBO Go and Now and all the HBO platforms tonight. So if you don't own a copy, queue it up. I'm going to have a timer that comes on the screen, but just a little note, the movie will not be on the screen at all because that's a copyright issue that YouTube will pull this channel. So this is not a watch along with the film on the screen. We're just commentating, talking about the film and everything surrounding it. So again, if you're new to the channel, as we get some crazy thunder out there, so hopefully my power doesn't go out. But nevertheless, if you're new to the channel, make sure to like this video. It helps the algorithm and we'll get more people involved in the chat. Give this video a thumbs up, comment with all your thoughts on the film, DC, all that fun stuff. Subscribe to not only my channel, but all my guests' channel. And with that transition, I'm going to bring them in, starting off with someone that's been on a lot of these panels. We've done panels on his channel. We got things coming up in the works. He's a big DC fan himself. I'm talking about Joe from Guy at the Movies. What's going on, man?
Hey, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. Excited to watch some Birds of Prey and the blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, the longest title in human history. But yeah, Joe, if you want to tell the people out there about your channel, what's coming up pretty soon, this big festival that we were talking about. So the stage is yours, man, to do some plugs. Yeah,
appreciate that. Guys, Guy at the Movies. So mainly, I apologize for the light over my shoulder. Did some rearranging and clearly have some more to do. But Guy at the Movies, daily-ish. Reviews on Instagram. They've been put on hold because of the big thing that I've been focusing on, which is the Guy at the Movies first ever virtual film festival, which will be the weekend of the 28th of August through the 30th. So it starts around 5:30 the evening of Friday night and goes straight through Sunday night. A lot of great participants, a lot of great guests, some Q&As with some filmmakers. Lots of fun to be had. So if you see me commenting tonight in the YouTube comment chat, I will be commenting under the Guy at the Movies Virtual Film Festival. That is where everything will be living via that YouTube channel. But other than that, I am geeking out about DC, pumped for DC Fandome next week, excited to chat about what the future may hold tonight, and just looking forward to watching this movie again.
No doubt, man. Can't wait for that festival as well as this hearing your thoughts on this film and DC and all that fun stuff, man. So very exciting. The next gentleman here has been on a lot of my horror streams, but he's also a fan of the DC universe and fan of comic book films. Has a great Instagram account, great guy all in all. We're talking about Sean from Moviebirb. What's going on, man?
What's going on, guys? How's it going this evening?
Good, man. It looks like it's raining out here, so hopefully, again, knock on wood, there's no power outages in my way. But glad to have you on tonight, Sean. If you want to tell the people about your content and all that good stuff, man.
Yeah, no, it's always good to be on one of these watch-alongs. And yeah, mainly right now it's instagram.com/Moviebirb. Doing a fantasy film August right now. So just finished watching all the Star Wars films, and I'm going to be heading into Harry Potter next. And just doing some daily content, and I got a lot of really great stuff coming up in September, so make sure to follow or whatever you want to do. But really excited about this film tonight and figuring out what you guys all think about it.
Yeah, man, excited to hear everyone's thoughts on the film tonight and also the future of the DC universe. So this young lady was on the channel last week. We watched, well, not last week, but a couple weeks ago. Was it last week? I can't remember. These days and all this stuff is kind of
time doesn't matter.
Yeah, but nevertheless, she's a phenomenal person when it comes to talking about movies, TV. She has a great podcast with a partner, Mac Review. She has her own Instagram page, which is incredible. I'm so happy to have her on tonight to talk about this film. I'm talking about Kristen. Kristen from Miss Film Mingo. What's going on?
Hi everybody.
What's up? What's up? Yeah, Kristen, if you want to tell the people about the podcast that you host and also this content that you have on your Instagram and all those fun social medias.
Of course. Well, you can follow me on Instagram at Miss Filmingo. You can also follow me on Twitter at KFilmingo. And I actually co-host a podcast with Mac Movie Reviews. I see he's on the chat. So, hey, Mac. So, yeah, you can also catch my recent review of The Kissing Booth 2, as well as some new reviews coming of Work It, the new, Sabrina Carpenter film, and Liza Koshy film, as well as the new Adam Devine film, Magic Camp. So look for those reviews soon.
Awesome. Yeah, it's some interesting films there that you just named, The Kissing Booth, and it's a weird time for films, right? But we got to pick.
You get what you can.
Exactly. Beggars can't be choosers when it comes to the content that we're getting out there. But very exciting stuff on her channel, so definitely check out her Instagram and her YouTube and all that great stuff. So this next gentleman here was his first time on the channel. I think last week he did like 7 watch-alongs, so he's now a professional watch-alonger panel person. He has a great channel. He just had his season 5 premiere a couple weeks ago. He reacts to movies, TVs, music, food, anything you could think of. We're talking about the one and only AJ from AJ Reacts. What's going on, man?
What's up, you guys?
Hey,
happy to be here.
Back to back weekends, man. Man.
Yeah, and next week too.
Yep. So
it's been awesome though. It's been really fun. You've been an awesome host, man.
Oh, I appreciate it, AJ. Hey, man, I appreciate it. But yeah, if you want to tell the people at home, man, what's your channel all about? All the stuff that we can find on your channel, plug is yours, man.
Well, you introduced me really good. I do I'm into movies, TV, music, food, like all kinds of stuff. And I've been venturing out doing more stuff, but next month is collab month on my channel, so I have a lot of stacked folks coming over to AJ Reacts 2 channel, and Elliot, you're actually on there too. You're scheduled to be on there, so we're gonna have a lot of folks on, and it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, man, can't wait to talk about the stuff we've been talking about in those collabs. And again, guys, check out his channel. The guy has a lot of great content, and excited to hear more of his thoughts as we talked about Suicide Squad last week. I believe this is high up there on your list, right? This film that we're watching tonight.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll get into it.
We'll talk about it. Most definitely. So last and certainly not least, this guy here is a grinder, man. Very young guy, but a passionate guy. Has a great channel, has great edits, great opinions on films. He had his first watch along, I believe, on his channel the other night for Hamilton. So definitely check that out if you guys get a chance to. But I'm talking about the one and only Jaren from Jaren Talks Movies. What's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's nice to finally meet y'all. I'm new to all you guys except for AJ, so it's cool to finally talk to you guys.
Yes, sir.
I'm really excited to be on here, though. Birds of Prey is definitely up there on my list as well, so I'm excited to finally go back and revisit it.
No doubt, man. Yeah, if you want to tell the people a little bit about your channel, where they can find you, all that great stuff, man, the stage is yours.
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube at Jaren Talks Movies, also on Twitter at Jaren Williams 14, and I also have an Instagram that is Jaren Talks Movies, and I do a lot of the same stuff as Elliot. I do a lot of movie reviews, try to push out as many new reviews as possible. I also do some rankings, reactions, all that sort of stuff. I just love talking about movies in general, and I'm just kind of new to this whole watch-along thing. I think this is my 3rd. But so far, I've had a ton of fun with it, so I'm really excited to get into this.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I can't wait to hear more of your thoughts on DC, this film, and all the fun stuff, man. It's going to be a lot of great conversations tonight, guys. So we are going to get this thing started in a couple minutes. But before we do so, definitely want to say what's up to everyone in the chat. As expected, I knew Luke was going to be here. He was here 20 hours ago, so we were chatting briefly about basketball. I don't know if we got any basketball fans out there. The playoffs are started. Dame time we were talking about. He's a beast, so I'm glad Luke was able to make it tonight. We got Eve in the chat. Big fan of hers. I know she was on the IG Live before we got on here, so I'm glad she was able to pop on. We got Q from Michigan, my boy Q from Q Reviews. I'll be watching this. Never seen it. Okay, I'm excited to hear your thoughts about this, Q, because I know you have some hit or misses for the DC universe. So excited this is your first time watching it with us tonight. We got Film Explorer. Let's see how this goes. Definitely. I know Jaren was in the chat earlier. He's pumped for it, excited, very, very excited as well. And then, yeah, guys, we got some people that's ready to go. So without further ado, we got Ryan O'Toole in the chat. Still one of the best movies of 2020. Yeah, I know AJ's thoughts on the film, but I'm very excited to see where this film lands for everyone else as far as films this year, but also where it ranks in their DCEU, DC Universe rankings as well. So we got Robert Makes the Cut. Of course, Robert's here with his 4K. Certain Vids, what's going on, man? And then we got, Kristen's second half, her partner in crime, Mac. Greetings from Springfield. Watch one of my least favorite DC films next to Suicide Squad. We might change your thoughts tonight, Mac. We'll see where everyone's thoughts are once we kind of get to that point in the film. So, nevertheless, guys, we're going to go ahead and get this started. Let me go ahead and pull up a little timer here. And then, Jen, is it on HBO? Is it good to go?
Yeah, it is. It premiered right on time, so I'm all good.
Nice. That's good stuff
Awesome.
for the future.
Yeah.
Yes, which is a perfect segue. So for those that do not own this film, it is available on HBO Max, HBO Go, Now, HBO in general. So if you don't have the film, it is there. But if you don't have any of those streaming services, it is available to rent on Hulu, or not Hulu, but YouTube, Amazon, the Google Play Store, iTunes. So those other places you can watch your film if you don't have the physical copy, nor if you don't have HBO Max. So go ahead and bring the timer up here. And I'm going to bring this timer up kind of periodically throughout the stream. So those that are watching the replay, those who are watching at home know where we are. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, on the count of, we're going to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and play. And then we're going to press play once we say play. So we're good to go. So with that being said, 5, 4, 3, 2, pressing play now. All righty. So kind of starting this thing off, guys, again, 2020. This film came out in February, which seems literally like 2 years ago. I don't know if it's just me, but February just feels like
so long ago.
Yeah, totally.
But in regards to just kind of anticipation for this film, before we kind of get into our main thoughts on like DC in general, but were you, starting with Joe, were you guys excited for this? This was the spinoff. Harley Quinn was, Deadshot. Harley Quinn were like the standout to Suicide Squad. Were you anticipating this film? Was this one of your most anticipated films of 2020, starting with Joe?
So anytime that there's a DC film coming out, it's always one of my anticipated films. But I'd say Harley Quinn, I didn't like how she was the standout in the Suicide Squad, but I didn't like how that movie portrayed all of the characters. I thought they all kind of got lost and were mismanaged. So I'm excited to see what James Gunn does with the next Suicide Squad, aptly titled The Suicide Squad. But yeah, I think it was nice. I wanted to see them do the character right. Harley Quinn was clearly one that was one of the standouts. She was well received by everyone, and she, with Margot Robbie kind of embodying her and bringing her to life, she just delivers every time. So, Birds of Prey was one that I don't know a lot about the characters, to be honest, but I was excited to see them. Also with, the villain that we got, I was happy to see that as well.
Yeah.
So it's, and we'll talk about, I guess, how it panned out for me, but I am excited to watch again.
No doubt. And same question for Sean. Before we go over to Sean, we're getting this really, I think, just from the opening scene, we just kind of know the flavor. And I mean, we got some F-bombs already dropped in there. We're getting this somewhat of not recon, but they're kind of playing off the lore of Suicide Squad, but also giving you some new things about her family and her potential love interest with Poison Ivy that I would love to see explore one day. But I love kind of this opening sequence here with Harley Quinn and kind of reintroducing us to this character from Suicide Squad. But Sean, same question for you. 2020 in February, were you anticipating this film prior to its release?
Yeah, man, I was excited for it to come out once I heard that it was going to be released. And, looking back at Suicide Squad, she was definitely one of the strengths of the film. And, just looking at what DC kind of has become in the last couple of years by going away from the dark and gritty to the more fun aspects of what comic book movies can be with Shazam and Aquaman and stuff like that. This is definitely more one of those fun type of DC movies. But they took a big swing with doing the R rating and trying to make it its own like DC Deadpool kind of thing. Yeah. But it was a try, and I personally enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to watching it again.
No doubt, no doubt. Yeah, and I like you guys said, I think this is we'll definitely get into the conversation about DC and maybe some of the mismanaging and kind of just throwing things on the wall and hoping it sticks. But same question for you, Jaren, regarding just again anticipation level for this film of 2020 before it came out. Was it high on your list for films you're looking forward to this year?
I will be honest. I saw those trailers and I was not impressed at all. I wanted it to be good. Margot Robbie is my favorite actress. I obviously did not like the Suicide Squad movie. I don't know many people who did, but I just saw it and I didn't see anything spectacular about it. But I went in and I had my expectations low, but I came out. So I don't know. I had a huge smile on my face. It was amazing to me. The way it has the Deadpool-esque things about it. A lot of scenes kind of remind me of a Quentin Tarantino movie. It's just so fresh in many ways, and it's able to be like dark and gritty while also being fun and vibrant at the same time. I think it just balances a lot of things so well. Margot Robbie, I couldn't see anybody else playing Harley Quinn besides her. She absolutely kills it.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. And we'll definitely, as you kind of started off with the marketing, we'll talk about some of that marketing in the trailers and kind of how they're presenting itself. But that's some good points there. But AJ, getting the same question for you. We're getting introduced to Black Mass, played by Ewan McGregor. It's great to see him in this film, and we'll talk about him as a villain. But we're now seeing Harley she's wilding out. She just came off of a break from Mr. J. She's out partying. She's out breaking people's legs and drinking. I mean, this is the fun Harley Quinn, right? This is her unhinged, and I think Margot is doing a great job with this opening sequence here. But yeah, same question for you, AJ. Anticipation level, were you excited to see kind of Harley Quinn get spin off in her own kind of film while introducing the Birds of Prey, and kind of your anticipation for this film?
This might be the most anticipated film for me of 2020. One of them anyway. One of them. And I was so glad that it dropped in theaters before, the whole, pandemic. So I was glad that we got that theater experience with it. I actually love this film. And I'm sure we'll talk about, details more, but the soundtrack I really enjoy, as well as Suicide Squad. But overall, this film it is like a Deadpool-esque, a little dark and gritty, but really fun at the same time. It balances it so well, and Margot Robbie, chef's kiss, it's so good. She's so good. She encaptures this character so well. So I enjoy it a lot.
No doubt, no doubt. And before we get to Miss Flamingo, we do just kind of address this comment, like I said up top. Ken's comment here. I love that Black Manta, by the way. I love Black Manta, and I can't wait to see him in Aquaman too. But it's going to be a conversation, Ken, as well as everyone else in the chat. These watch-alongs, I think it will be quite boring if we were all just staring at a screen and not saying anything. Yeah. So, man, if this isn't your cup of tea, man, you can mute us and just maybe enjoy our mouths moving or enjoy the conversation in the chat, man. We would love to get your thoughts on this film. But, yeah, man, this is a full conversation about this film, about DC, about things that we just want to talk about. The idea of a watch along to me is just like sitting down with your friends. You've seen the film, but we're talking about the movie. We're talking about everything around it. So it's going to be a conversation, Ken. So hopefully you're excited for that, man.
Real quick, where are you guys at exactly?
Let me I kind of time right here.
I fast forwarded on accident. Where are we at?
So I don't know if everyone else.
I got about 6:45.
Yeah. So here I'll bring.
Okay, I'm not too far off. I'm at 6:45 now.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, right now at this part, we're getting a little. Again, they're referencing to Suicide Squad. Okay. They're not ignoring it to a certain extent, but we're seeing Harley Quinn going into the chemicals where she becomes Harley Quinn, and we're seeing their relationship. So I thought that was interesting. So
that's where I'm at too.
Kind of a two-way question for you, Miss Flamingo, in regards to, did you like that they address the Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn and Joker's relationship? Did you want to do it from scratch? And then also just going back to the first question, anticipation for this film coming out in 2020.
Okay. Let's see. So I'm kind of happy they just gave Harley Quinn her own film. I don't think we needed Jared Leto's Joker. I mean, who honestly God like that Joker? I mean, we don't want to relive that. I don't want to relive that. Honestly, that was scarring enough. Seeing Jared Leto as an emo, whatever that was, Joker. It was like Hot Topic Jared Leto. So I'm happy she got her own, centerpiece film.
For sure.
And when all the trailers starting to come out, I was like, I don't think this is going to be for me. So I know I'm the only one on this panel who didn't get to see Harley Quinn in theaters. So I had to pick this up, freshly picked up the Blu-ray and watched it for the first time this past week. And I was pleasantly surprised. It's not as bad as Suicide Squad, but it's not my favorite DC film.
Sure.
But it's better from what I've seen over the last few years.
Yeah.
But nowhere as fun as Shazam or Aquaman. But from what I talked to some friends before I came on this live stream, and they said they all had fun watching Harley Quinn in theaters. So maybe I just missed out on the fun. So
that's a really interesting point too, because I think there are certain films that, and we all know now with the lack of movies at the theater, but there are certain films that gives you a different vibe because this is my first time rewatching it, seeing it in theaters, which my theater was loving it. They were laughing, having a good time. But like you just said, sometimes when you take the film home, it's a different experience. So that is a very interesting point there. And again, with this being a watch along, I'm interested to see if it still holds for me personally. As we get the introduction to Huntress, played incredibly. We'll talk about our favorite characters, but Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I'm a huge fan of her personally. I think she is just.
Jaren is too.
We got to hear this.
We had a watch along maybe a couple weeks ago, and we watched Sky High, and every time she came,
I swear she was my first celebrity crush. I was like, that brought back memories. I was blushing like, oh my gosh.
Every time she came on screen, Jaren was like, oh my gosh, it was great.
She's great, man. I mean,
we gotta carry on this joke.
Oh yeah, we can carry it on, man. But I think she's such a great actress, man.
For sure.
From seeing her, mature into the actress that she is now, from Sky High to Scott Pilgrim to Cloverfield Lane to, I don't know if you guys watch Fargo. I thought she was just so great in season 3 of Fargo, but she's such a great actress, and we'll talk about her character in this film. I wish we would have gotten more from her, but who knows? HBO Max seems to want to give everybody a TV show, from Jim Gordon to Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman to Green Lantern. So maybe we'll talk about the box office, but maybe they can get some of the Birds of Prey on a TV show here and there, which would be, I think, would be great. But Mary Elizabeth, she's great. So let's see here what we got. And also, too, for everyone at home, as you guys can see from a little ticker, if you guys want, you don't have to. The best thing to do for this video, give it a thumbs up. But super chats are available, as well as Streamlabs. So if you want, you can definitely donate to the channel. But by all means, giving this video a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, but more importantly, subscribing to these amazing content creators is just as important. So definitely support everyone on the panel tonight, guys. So we're getting a very interesting scene here, with kind of showing us the menacing flamboyantness of Ewan McGregor as Black Mask. Starting with Joe, when you heard the casting and you saw the portrayal, just kind of general thoughts on Ewan McGregor as Black Mask, a very popular crime lord in the Gotham Batman lore there.
Yeah, definitely. I love the casting of Ewan McGregor. I think Ewan McGregor is one of the greats out there. So seeing him get involved in the DC universe this way is really exciting to me.
Yeah.
The character, you're right. He's one of the most popular, or one of the most well-known, next to some of the other crime bosses like Falcone and, the usuals within Gotham. So it was nice to see them go a different direction. He also, as you said, is very flamboyant, very, very different. So I think he fits for this type of film, taking things out of the lighthearted. Well, I guess can't say lighthearted about DC, but going more mature and going more, language driven and drinking and all that stuff. I think he fits really well for that and knows how to take a role and make it his own. So I liked what he did here. He's a lot of fun. Actually, on rewatch already, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about this.
Yeah, and I'm just loving this. Like, he doesn't want to get his hands dirty, but he's telling, cut their faces. This portrayal. It's really interesting, because I know when we have the conversation about comic book movies, the translation from the comics, that medium, to the big screen, this is a completely different version from what we get from the comics, or even for video game lovers, for those of Batman Arkham Origins, his character in that is completely different. But I always love when they give us something different, right? And I think it works. But I think right now we can all agree our mouths are all watering.
The
sandwich is
the
like,
egg and cheese
oh
sandwich.
my
Oh
god.
I
my
just
God.
ate and I'm hungry again.
Oh my goodness. It's perfect.
Oh
It's
man.
perfect. Oh my
Did
goodness.
you guys see the binging with Babish video that he did? Like how he showed how to make it? It's really,
Yes.
really cool.
Mm.
Really? No.
I gotta check that
Yeah.
out.
Yep.
You gotta check it out. It's pretty good.
It is amazing. But yeah, same question for you, Sean. Just kind of your initial thoughts on Ewan McGregor being cast as Black Mask, and just general thoughts on the character.
Well, I mean, I'm probably one that isn't as familiar with him in the comics, but just as him as an actor and how well he portrayed it.
Mhm.
You know, McGregor's just a great actor. That's pretty much what it is all around. And, you know, he really gave this his all. And I know that it could be kind of a turnoff for some people not expecting going in to have a guy like peeling off people's faces and things like that, because I wasn't expecting that kind of level of stuff. But he took a big swing with how like emphatic and how boisterous he wanted to be with this role, and he did a great job. So he's one of the better DC villains that, you know, aren't the big ones that everybody knows. So he did a really good job with it.
Oh yeah, and that's definitely a question we'll bring up later on, as far as just kind of you guys' personal thoughts on the DC villains and kind of where you guys rank certain ones from the films thus far. But yeah, Jaren, same thing, man. As we're seeing Harley going through the streets of Gotham, which again, from Batman '89 to Returns to more recently, you know, Zack Snyder's version of Gotham. This is a very different version of Gotham, and we'll talk about that here in a bit. But just kind of your thoughts on Ewan McGregor as Black Mask, man.
Ewan McGregor is one of my favorite actors. So when I heard he was going to be in this movie, I was totally on board. But I'm also one of those who knew nothing about the villain at all. I've never heard of him before previously to this film. So this was my first introduction to the character, and I was blown away. Extremely menacing, but it's cool because like you look at him, and on the outside, he doesn't look like somebody who cuts people's faces off behind the scenes. But he brought the charisma, man. I loved everything about his character. He's definitely one of the better DC villains.
No doubt, man. As we're seeing, Harley kind of again and again, this film, one of the things I do appreciate about it is just the frenetic pace, right? We're getting these different montages, and we're getting a little bit of exposition, but not overdumped, or not having someone in front of the screen just telling us a bunch of things. We're getting this poppy colors, comic book like type of panels that we're getting on the big screen now, explaining Harley and her hyena named Bruce Wayne, which I thought was hilarious. But and that sandwich, oh man, that's
Sandwich.
heartbreaking, man. That's some heartbreaking stuff, man. R.I.P. But AJ, same for you, man, regarding just your thoughts on Black Mask and Ewan playing the character.
The thing about Black Mask, I was very excited to see Ewan McGregor when I heard that Ewan McGregor. That's kind of hard to say for me, I guess. Ewan McGregor it was going to be in this role. Like I was excited. I think when what am I trying to say? I'm so engrossed in this film. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is one of my favorite parts of the film. But like Ewan McGregor as Black Mask, I think they might have been able to make him a little bit more menacing, use the mask a little bit more, because his name is Black Mask. So I feel like he wasn't in the mask as much. We saw like kind of the background character of what Black Mask really is. And I'm not a huge comic book guy, but I did watch some of the animated series with him in it. And also Victor Zsasz. Like, I don't know if that's one of the questions or, you know, points that we're going to hit. But I think he was a little underutilized in this film, because I think he has more of a heavy hitting character than what was portrayed in this film. Going back to Black Mask, like I really enjoy Ewan McGregor's portrayal. I just think it could have been a little bit more menacing, a little bit more intimidating. But you know, that's just kind of me nitpicking, because I love it. I love this movie. So
Hey, I love we don't get the name of Huntress until later in the film. I love how that running joke continues to go on. Like,
Yeah,
what?
that is funny.
Yeah, but
Who are you?
that is a good point that you brought up about Ewan and his henchman, who's a serial killer in the comics and like
Yeah.
like insane. I mean, and they play on that in this film. He's killing people left and right, but
Yeah, you just don't get the extent of it with this film.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you there. But Miss Flamingo, the same thing for you, just kind of picking up on Ewan McGregor as the character Black Mask, and just kind of your thoughts of him in the role.
Okay, so knowing that he was casted, I was kind of like questioning why, but I'm not too familiar with Black Mask, but kind of cool to see him in this kind of role, because other than that, I usually watch Ewan McGregor in like the bigger roles like he was in Dr. Sleep and Moulin Rouge and all that jazzy fun stuff. But this is something different. I'm actually kind of happy I get to see him in. And I agree with AJ that I wish we got a little bit more of a darker, menacing side to him, because he was probably one of my favorite parts about this film. And I enjoyed really a lot of it, and I wish we got to see like more of him, like what we saw earlier. He was like pulling those people's faces off, and we only get to really see that once, and you don't really get to see him do that really ever again. So I wish we got a little bit more to him. I like him in the scenes when he kind of like acts over dramatic about some of the certain events when he finds out about the diamond and everything like that. But then once we get to the end of the film, what happens? I was like, dang, I wish we got more. So
yeah, no, I completely. And again, I think going back to the conversation about comic books and expectations of comic book movies and characters, I mean, we just were briefly introduced to Cassandra Cain, who, again, a very popular comic book character who's taken the mantle of Batgirl, which is completely different from this iteration of the character. So, it is that conversation about, okay, when you have these type of comic book characters, do you have to be so authentic and be at the core of the character, or can you play around with them and, have that? So there's always that conversation, right? I think DC has definitely adapted the more creative side of taking liberties of these characters, which again can be a gift and a curse for a la Batman, killing people, Superman, and Zod. There's so many conversations about how people interpret the characters and not being at their core. But Joe, do you have anything to add to that regarding just kind of the Sandra, the different iterations of these characters that we got in this version of the film?
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, Elliot. I mean, I think part of the reason that DC films aren't as well received, in my opinion, is because people go in expecting to see as close to a carbon copy of the characters as you can get. And we haven't gotten that. And, when we talk about villains later on and we bring up Doomsday, people didn't like Doomsday because that's not how he came to be, but it was an interpretation that lives in the world that was built within the films, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of, where's your interest? Do you want to see a carbon copy? Do you want to see the comics just copied straight to screen? Straight to screen. Wow, struggling too. AJ, you're rubbing off on me here.
Sorry,
but I'll probably get into this a lot as I start talking about DC more and more. But I like the new interpretations. I think DC, their characters have been around for so long. Granted, when you're talking about like Birds of Prey and stuff, that's more of a mid '90s beginning. But the characters themselves have been around, and I'm into it. I want to be surprised. I want to see how they build things. The problem is, again, getting on my soapbox here, we live in a society and we operate with a film industry that doesn't give stories the time to flesh out if they're not making the money, and thus we've seen DC all over the place. Which is a shame, because I'm a DC person over a Marvel person. I like DC's realism. I like DC's maturity when you're not under the Disney umbrella, and I'm a Disney person, so I can say that. I have the card. I like what they're doing. I like that they allow the characters to run with the actors to run with the characters, and the writers to kind of write them in a new, fun way.
Oh, well said, man. And I guess just for the rest of the panel too, because I know like Sean and Jaren and AJ and Miss Flamingo, I know you guys said you weren't maybe as familiar with these characters. So kind of spinning that question for those starting with Sean that may not have been familiar with a Black Mask or Cassandra Cain. Did this film make you guys want to look into these characters more, see different interpretations of them? I'm just kind of curious on that, starting with Sean.
I mean, for me, not really, just because I enjoyed so much what I was watching while I was watching it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely open to looking into more of these characters, but going back to what he was saying earlier, like with some of these characters, it's like, how high do we as a fandom put them up on a pedestal?
Yeah.
Like when it comes to like the bigger people, like Batman and Superman and Joker and Doomsday and things like that, it's like we have the one version that we love and anybody else's is inferior. And if we felt that way, we would have never gotten the Heath Ledger version because we would have been obsessed with how Jack Nicholson did it.
Yeah.
But just like looking at this again, it's fun, and who cares if it's not exactly like it is in the comics? It's like their interpretation and their view of what it wants to be, and it works. So
yeah. No, well said, man. As we're just again for those that are at home or watching the replay, we're right at the 23-minute mark where we're seeing Harley kind of do her best interpretation of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Terminator coming to the jail to get to wreck shop, which we're seeing her do now. And I don't know if you guys saw the behind the scenes of this particular scene, but Margot, man, she did most of these stunts, which is very impressive. And again, goes to the commitment of this character and doing as many stunts as she possibly can. So another little cool thing. I don't know how you guys feel about storytelling elements when we kind of get a story and they kind of go back to very, as you all have said, Deadpool-ish, like the first Deadpool of showing you how a person got to where they are now. But same for you, Jaren, just kind of your thoughts on a different interpretation from characters, and did this particular version of characters make you want to explore them more in comics or other animated movies or games or anything of that nature?
Yeah, when it comes to different interpretations, I guess I'm one that's always been kind of up for it. Because to me, I don't know. It's like if you look at the original Lion King and then you look at the remake, one thing people didn't like about that is that it's a carbon copy of what everybody loved about the original. It just has better graphics. It didn't provide anything special. So to me, like if I was a fan of a comic book and then went in to a movie and everything was beat by beat the same, it wouldn't feel any different to me. It wouldn't feel too spectacular. So I kind of like that they're taking the liberty to switch things up and give different perspectives and story points. I kind of dig it a lot. But when it comes to the characters in this story, I knew nothing about them before this, besides Harley Quinn. So I think that they did a really good job, like introducing them all. They have their own like unique backstories, way to introduce them. I love it a lot. I definitely like to see more from them in the future, but I think they really work as a team. I don't necessarily know how they'd be separately if they all had like their own spin-off movies, because I don't know how much I'd be invested to their own personal storylines, but I know that together I've seen that they have like a great dynamic that I'd love to see more of.
Definitely. As kind of going off of that point, AJ, in regards to, do you think any of these characters could have held their own film prior to this? And do you prefer them as a team? And then going back to just kind of expectations for, just thinking of, so for example, AJ, what's one of your favorite characters that you can think of in modern movies?
In this film,
or just in general, just a film that you like, I love this character, and 30 years from now when they inevitably do a remake of the character, just kind of your thoughts. So do you have like a character that comes to mind that
I don't know why, but the first character that comes to mind when you mention that is Walter White from Breaking Bad. And that's TV. It's not film, but
no, that's fine. I mean, it's still a pivotal pop culture character. So where I'm going at with this question is, so 30 years from now, if we get inevitably a remake of Breaking Bad, and what Bryan Cranston brought to the character, but we get this new interpretation, just kind of your thoughts on being so near and dear to a character, but seeing something different. Are you one that accepts sex change, or do you have a little bit of being apprehensive about accepting something new with these characters? For like example, this film here.
I don't ever want the show to be rebooted, or I don't. But like, if you're speaking on like comics coming to life on the big screen, that's a little different to me. I think if it shouldn't be carbon copy. I will say that, but it depends on what direction the writers and directors take on the character. That depends on everything, on the results. So I think with this film, I some of the characters I feel like I can see on a spinoff. Probably I would want to see a television show, like a HBO Max show or something, rather than a film.
Yeah.
But other characters, not so much. So yeah, that's my take on it.
No, for sure, man. And the same thing, Miss Flamingo, regarding just accuracy from whether it be a novel, a book, a movie, a show, and you see a different interpretation. Are you one to open-minded, or do you kind of have certain characters that are so near and dear to you that you don't want to see much of a change? Like, again, a big character, a Superman character, right? The different interpretation that we get from Zack Snyder. A lot of people that hold Superman to just an incredibly high pedestal, they did not like the essence of the character. And I think that's something that may rattle a lot of people when it comes to these comic book films. So how do you handle that when you have a certain, again, a favorite book of yours, a movie, a show, and you see a different version of that character?
Let's see. Like, I guess what the filmmakers or studios think, like if they buy something in the rights to a book or something, and if I like envisioned like a mind of how I would want it, it like depends how the studios, I guess, plan of what they're doing and if that makes sense. And you know, let's see, like when they like years ago when that really bad Alfred Hitchcock remake got remade, you know, people don't want to see that. If Psycho was remade like nowadays, people want to see something original.
Which one was that? I don't mean to cut you off, but which one?
No, that's the one with Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, Psycho.
Yeah.
Oh,
Psycho.
Carbon copy.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you meant Bates Motel.
No, I love Bates.
No, that's brilliant. Yeah.
Me too. I loved it too. I thought you were talking about that. So
that's a really good example too of a kind of different take on the characters that a lot of people are accepting.
Yeah, that's what actually I was going to bring up. Like what A&E did with their creation of the Norman Bates character and seeing how he was a teenager and into the character he went out to be and become. You know, that's something original and totally like I was really up for it and I loved it. For here, I don't know, since I really don't know the characters too well, and as potential to see like maybe a series of himself, I don't know, maybe for like Huntress, because I think that was the one I was really mostly interested in, and I could see her as like her own like spin-off series. But other than that, they all worked. These characters work better together as a team, like like that was previously like stated earlier. So, and I can't see them all separately either, except for like I mentioned, like Huntress. But other than that, Harley Quinn should team up with these girls more often, though.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And as we see on the screen now, and again, this film doesn't shy away from again taking advantage of that rated R moment. We're seeing two guys taking Harley Quinn, taking advantage of her, but this is where we get some of that teamwork and the birds of prey kind of coming together as we're seeing Black Canary kick some ass here, which I loved. And Jesse, or Jurnee Smollett, I think she's just such a great actress. So it was cool to kind of see her go to work. And Harley, just again,
she's hilarious.
Yeah. Great casting, which I think, regardless of kind of our thoughts on some of the DCEU or Marvel, a lot of these superhero movies have just been kind of really spot on for a lot of their casting, minus a couple, miscasting here and there. But I think for the most part, we could say a lot of these characters have been well casted.
For sure.
Yeah,
miscast. Definitely tell
Jesse Eisenberg.
Cough. That kind of going back to our last conversation, and as Joe kind of had mentioned, Jesse Eisenberg, Lex Luthor, Doomsday,
Jared Leto.
That's such a fascinating question because it again, Joe said it perfectly. Those characters, do they fit in that movie? I guess is the big question. Does Jesse Eisenberg as this Mark Zuckerberg type of character, social media, smile on his face when you see him on camera, but planning to destroy Superman behind the cameras? It's just kind of that, again, I know people just didn't like the performance, but again, did it fit within the narrative they were trying to tell? Did Victor fit within this narrative that Cathy Yan was trying to tell? Same with, Katrina Cannon and all that. So it's a very fascinating conversation when it comes to that.
I like Jesse Eisenberg. Don't get me wrong. I like Jesse Eisenberg, but I feel like he plays almost the same character in every role that he takes. Same with like Michael Cera. Like I just think they play like similar characters, and I think he as Lex Luthor, he put his own spin on it, but I just think it just didn't work out the way I hope personally. Some people might like it, but it wasn't for me. That performance wasn't for me.
No, I get you.
Yeah,
I get you.
Agreed.
Yeah, there's definitely some pros and cons that I had about that character. Because again, I looked at it as what Zach was trying to do with that character, but then again, with knowing Lex Luthor to me is, besides the Joker, is like the biggest DC villain, even more so than Darkseid, because of how he's a huge take on Superman and always finds a way to take out this godly like figure. So
right.
But I'd imagine we'll get another version of him, one of these days with the new interpretation of these DC characters.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm.
But this kind of brings. Oh, go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
I was just gonna say about Lex. I completely agree with you. I see where they were going with it, where Zack Snyder wanted to take it into like a more modern, like Mark Zuckerberg Facebook type tycoon, which would make sense when you're trying to make it a more relevant story. I'm just not the biggest fan of Eisenberg and all the roles that he gets. I think like he's so quirky to me that he works in quirky roles. And
very typecast.
He is very typecast. And I say this with 100% honesty, not honesty, whatever. I mean this sincerity. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. I think he was trying to play more of a character, like a villain on the spectrum, quite honestly. I read some things about that, and I love that take on it because it's not so black and white like you get with all the old comic movies. And you really look at like what is at the core of this villain. Why is this guy who has everything and is whatever? Well, why is he the way that he is? What I do like about like getting into if they move forward with him or not in the future, the idea of there's been that rumor going around that maybe this was like Alexander Luthor, like the young Luthor, and we're the younger Luthor, and we might get the father who's actually the real Lex Luthor, which is kind of a flip of how Smallville did it. So, thinking about how they started off Birds of Prey, I'm pointing like you can see my screen, how they started off Birds of Prey by adapting the previous film without completely taking it all as canon. I wonder how they're going to move forward with that. But then again, the wild card is going to be how the Snyder Cut does next year and how that's received.
And we'll definitely dive into that conversation because I think Zack Snyder even said it himself that it's kind of an all else world scenario. So I don't even know, to your point, if they'll ever continue that thread of storytelling besides pulling Wonder Woman, Aquaman, fingers crossed, Henry Cavill, Superman, and then just, and Ezra Miller and all of them. But
potentially a TV show for Batman too, for what's his name's Ben Affleck's Batman.
So many things in the works, and that is going to be a very a fun conversation once we get to that point. But one of the conversations I did want to kind of bring up was, again, kind of interpretation and expectations and what you expect from a certain universe. But how did you guys feel, starting with Joe, thoughts on Gotham City without its Batman? It's a character. Gotham City, Metropolis, Gotham's and that's another reason we'll talk about DC, but I love the locations of DC. We don't have that much in MCU besides Wakanda and space and all that stuff, but
New York and Chicago.
You're right. But again, Metropolis, the Mascara, Atlantis, and then more importantly, Gotham City. So Joe, what are your thoughts on the absence of Bruce? And I don't even know if they even address it in this film, which I know it's not about Batman, but I'm just kind of curious your thoughts on the lack of Batman in this world.
I love it. And the reason I say that is because Gotham is huge. We're told that it is this massive city. And also Batman is just a man. So the fact that, he's not present while all this menial crime is going on, it makes sense. And he's not a Superman who can hear and see and speed to wherever things are going. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Also seeing Gotham, this light and blustery and color and stuff, I actually really like it because if you think about how we usually see Gotham, we see it at night with the exclusion of the Nolan trilogy. We usually see Gotham at night, dark, grungy, whatever. So I'm trying to think about how much of this takes place at night. And I would say it's the very beginning when she's drunk and then near the end, or I guess the final act. But I like it. I think it was okay, let's do something we haven't seen before.
No, it's a great point. And same, brought up some great points, Sean. I would love to get your thoughts on this, on the vibrant colors of Gotham compared to the gothic look that we got from Tim Burton's Batman, and the wackiness from Joe Schumacher, and the gritty darkness of being in Chicago. And I think the Dark Knight Rises was it Pittsburgh that they made Gotham? I can't remember, but and then Detroit that we got from Zack Snyder. So just your thoughts on this version of Gotham City and the lack of the presence of Batman.
Oh, I mean, I really don't know what more to add, because I'm in 100% agreement with what was said before. Again, and going back to the previous conversation, it's the interpretation and what we wanted to have focus on the screen. And yeah, it's a big city. You have smaller crime that doesn't need Batman. And, this could be an opening for newer things. And just, again, like you were saying, with the different directors of how they wanted to show Gotham, and whether it's the darker or the gritty or the fun and neon lit or whatever we wanted to get, it's, there is a daytime, and cities do function in the daylight. So just seeing it and what it does and how it works is, it's another interpretation, and it worked for me.
Nice. As we're seeing the infamous diamond. I don't know if you guys were following this movie for a while, where some of the script got leaked, and apparently the diamond was supposed to expose some, let's say, body parts of Black Mask, and that was kind of the theme going around for a while. That it was some leaked images of him, and that was kind of the main thread of the story. But we obviously, that was a little bit obviously that wasn't the case, but the diamond is very critical and a pivotal part in this film. But Jaren, same question for you, man, just regarding, and not necessarily the comics, but just from your versions of the different Gotham cities we've seen from movies and video games and things of that nature, just your take on this vibrant colors. And if you missed Batman maybe popping up or being brought up in the news or something like that.
Honestly, besides the Dark Knight trilogy, this is probably my favorite version of Gotham City that I've seen. I absolutely love the vibrant nature of it, the daylight setting. I also think that this film does a great job at giving us a much needed sense of realism. It makes it feel like it's in the real world, because Batman fights crime. He's a superhero, but he also can't be everywhere at once. Yeah. And there's other things going on around that he can't be there to help and stop the situation. I love that. Not everything has to have Batman at the center. Even when you look at a movie like Joker, that didn't need to add Batman, but they decided they wanted to add some presence of Bruce Wayne in it. Yeah. Not necessary. And this is this is a great example that he is not needed. He's a great character, obviously, but they can hold their own without him. And I think they did it perfectly.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, man. It's definitely, I'll be honest, that was one of the reasons I didn't watch Gotham, the TV show, just because I just thought the idea of a show without Batman just seemed kind of weird to me. Just the same thing with Venom and Spider-Man. It's just certain characters like a Batman and Joker where you just, again, the essence of the character and their creation is so heavily influenced on a superhero or on a villain. So, but no, I mean, you guys bring up a great point. It's a big city, and this is small crime. And that's another thing I appreciate about this film. It's not the end of the world. There's not a big circle in the sky and the world's going to end. It's just a more personal crime story, right? Which is very, like Batman doesn't have his hands in every single thing in Gotham. He's not a Flash in Central City. He's not a Superman in Metropolis. So some great points there. But yeah, same thing for you, AJ. Just your thoughts on this version of Gotham, the lack of Batman being in the Gotham.
I feel like you said, Gotham is kind of a character in itself. And I think this film brought a lot of character depth, and because we saw a side of Gotham that we never really get to see, like, during the day, and Batman's not there. Batman works at night usually. So I think that it was much needed to get a different perspective on the character Gotham, and I really appreciate that. I really appreciated that. Yeah.
No doubt. Same with you, Ms. Flamingo. Just your thoughts on Gotham and the missing of Batman, and everyone in the chat too. Let me know you guys' thoughts as we kind of see Harley is now in the possession of Black Mask. But yeah, your thoughts, Ms. Flamingo.
Well, yeah, I always kind of grew up knowing the fact that, Gotham City, needs Batman. It's like the 2 and 2 go together. Like, that's how I always thought. But I like the fact how this movie does show Gotham during the city of like what it is, like what's everyday life, and like what Jaren was saying. We get to see it. It's like almost like at this realism type way. It's like events that can happen during time of Gotham City, what's happening. So I kind of like the fact there's no Batman or no signs of Batman in this. I didn't really think about it until like after I saw this movie, and I was like, huh, I never really saw a trace of Batman anywhere, and I liked that. So it was a fresh new take on it. So I kind of liked that aspect of it because, in Suicide Squad, we saw it, in the beginning, but, here I was like, how are they going to connect Batman? And, it's not, there's no sign of him, like I just said. So I really like it. So
no doubt. Yeah, like I said, everyone said their piece about it. And I'm totally in agreement with you guys. Again, we don't need, and as if someone is wearing a Batman shirt, he's my favorite superhero. I was fine with that because it is a big city, and he's a Justice League member, so he's out, doing Justice League things. So he's not going to always be in Gotham, and it's something that you come to expect with that that title that he has. So I was fine with it, but I do have a similar question though. It's kind of in the same realm with just. She addressed it up top with her breaking up the Joker, but how do you guys feel as Harley Quinn work without the Joker? Again, and not even necessarily just from a comic book, from the animated where she came from. How do you guys feel without Joker, Harley Quinn? Does she work as a character fully for you guys? Starting with Joe.
Yeah, I think she totally works fully as a character, and I think that's a testament to, at least in this film, to Margot Robbie. I don't know that we need to always tether the strong female characters to strong male characters, especially Joker, who's been done time and time again. And again, I think that it's a testament to Robbie. I also think if you've seen any of the Harley Quinn animated series that's on DC Universe, or
I really want to see it.
It's hilarious. And
I was hoping that would come up.
Yeah, it's really good. And I don't know that would have happened if we didn't get this interpretation in the live action DC universe, but I'm glad that it did, because now we're getting an opportunity, just like we saw with, we've talked in the past, Elliot and I especially, about Marvel is going to start, I believe, using Disney Plus as kind of their, testing grounds for what works in the future, what characters to explore, and also to open up the universe, bring more characters in. That's also something that DC can do with HBO Max, and in specific, talking specifically about the animated series, you see who's popular, you see what characters are going to want to be brought over, potentially to live action, just like, what's her name in Clone Wars? Ahsoka?
Ahsoka.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
No doubt. Same thing for you, Sean. Just your thoughts on, again, this is a common theme in regards to essence of the character, what we're used to seeing, but seeing Harley venture away. She has her own animated show. She's carrying her own film, and we'll talk about the box office here next, but just your thoughts on Harley minus Joker.
I mean, again, it's what they wanted to do with the character, and it is all about how Robbie did with this character and how much she cares about being this character. Like, if she wasn't giving it her all, it wouldn't be even discussed. And going back to like even Suicide Squad, like, she was the bigger character. Like, for me, I liked her on screen, and she kind of outclassed the Joker. Like, it was really her movie. Yeah. So just even going by that perspective, and in the universe that DC decided to create with this, like, she deserved her own spinoff, and she's doing great, not needing a man to tether her. So yeah, I not only do I think that it works here, I'm hoping that we see more of it in the future. Yeah, no doubt. Again, just her, and just, I don't know, she's just so funny. We got a really cool thing. We see what goes on in the head of Harley Quinn. Little dance montage there, but kind of. Again, Jaren, just put a little spin on the question here regarding Harley without Joker. And we have yet to see, again, we've only seen 2 live action versions of Harley Quinn on the big screen, but we've yet to see a premium version of a Harley Quinn match with a premium version of Joker. And maybe one day we'll get that, because, again, a lot of people are mixed on Jared Leto and then the few little scenes we got in Suicide Squad. But just your thoughts on, again, her separate from a character. And do you inevitably want to see them, like,
at their prime, like two great characters, Margot Robbie and whoever they recast as a Joker, which will be inevitable. But just your thoughts on that relationship of those two.
I mean, sure. I guess I'd like to see it if they could bring in a different version of the Joker that was gonna match her skill set more. I also don't think it's necessary at the same time. I think she's done so well to set herself apart. She definitely carries this film. She carried Suicide Squad. This is her passion project. You can tell she absolutely loves it. But I also think when you're looking at Harley Quinn as a standalone character, it really just depends on the version you're talking about. Because then if you look at Batman the Animated Series, I don't think Harley Quinn would have worked by herself without Mark Hamill's Joker. It just depends on the version. But definitely this interpretation of the character, 100%, she can do it all.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, man, especially in regards to, again, that's why I'm so excited to see if the DC ever does that, where they have these two apex characters at their prime and how they're meshed together. Like, seeing them, Mark Hamill, one of the best Jokers, and then seeing Harley Quinn, like, I would love to see that on the screen. But again, it fits the narrative. There's one overshadow the other one, like I said, I personally think, I totally agree with you that Harley Quinn outshined the Joker, Jared Leto's version of the Joker. But like I said, I would love to see them matching each other's, craziness and wackiness and embracing that, those two characters. But AJ, same with you as we're approaching another big action set piece here, and we're seeing Harley.
It seems to happen every time you get to me, it's like,
yes.
But no, what was the question again?
Just your thoughts on the Harley without Joker, and if you feel like that works for you.
It works great, I think. I think we needed it at the beginning, but once she came into her own, we don't need it. She's a powerhouse. Margot Robbie taking this character on and just making it her own. It's phenomenal. So I don't think she really needs Joker. It would, like you said, it would be interesting to see a Joker that matches her, crazy matching Joker's crazy, and them kind of playing off each other in a good way. So I would be interested to see that, but I don't know. I think she really needs them.
Yeah, it'll be. And we'll definitely talk about the future of DC, but it'll be interesting to see if we'll ever see that. Because, again, it seems like this universe is going to be so separate from Robert Pattinson's Batman and whoever they cast. So I don't know if it'll really suck if we don't see Harley Quinn matching another Joker. But, again, you don't always get what you want. So, Ms. Flamingo, same question for you regarding your thoughts on Harley without a Joker, and just in that conversation there.
Well, yeah, first, I was always the kind of character, not character, but I always knew, Harley Quinn and Joker, where they were, the couple. She always needs him. But, after seeing this film, I was like, she doesn't need a man. Mm-hmm. She doesn't. She survives on her own. Look at her. She kicks butt,
Yeah, she does.
We see her from, as what the film shows, she started from, the bottom being boohoo, I need my love again. And then, she's like, I don't need him anymore. So I would love to have more this kind of Harley Quinn, because I wasn't crazy about it in Suicide Squad, but seeing her in this, kind of Harley Quinn stuff, I like it. She really kicks butt.
Yeah.
So
when she gets the bat, it's next level. It's next level.
Yeah, exactly.
When she ricochets the bat, that's, oh my god.
And again, we're seeing Margot Robbie, man, doing their own stunts, which I think makes it a little bit more visceral and a little bit more realistic when you see someone in the role doing it. There you go. Nice.
Now she's getting her spinach.
Yeah,
it really helps that they had the best action coordinator in the game too, Chad Stahelski.
Yeah, John Wick. Yeah, yep.
I just think she's absolutely hilarious. That's the best part of this. Through all the ups and downs of DC, they've been wanting to go lighter. Apparently, Warner Brothers has wanted lighter. They wanted more fun, and it finally, I think, hit here. In terms of the most fun and batshit crazy that you could get. And that's not discounting, Aquaman's a lot of fun. Shazam was a family film that was really well done and delivered, how Shazam should be. But yeah, I think they did something right with this film, to be quite honest, because it's just, even on rewatch, it's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. She's going to work with that bat.
I'm liking it more.
Yeah,
exactly. Me too.
And it'll be, again, going back to the future. Fatality. Yeah, that's oh my
Finish
goodness.
him.
Yeah. It'll be really
That's
interesting to see
injustice.
totally. It'll be really interesting to see what they do with the Joker next time, because it'll be really interesting to see if we do see Harley Quinn and Joker on the screen again. Does it set the character back, right? Because we're seeing her independent, how she can carry her own. But then if we see her with a Joker and she's, at his side all the time, it'll just be really interesting to see how DC handles that. And again, that's why I don't even know if we'll see them on the screen together again, unfortunately, just because Harley Quinn is just so powerful on her own that I think if they put her next to a Joker, it might, like I said, set the character back from what we got in this film and Suicide Squad.
And I'm wondering too, with Robbie being a producer on this now, like how much say she'll have in it.
Yeah.
True.
Mhm.
Very true. But yeah, this is a great scene because again, her and the bat, which is it's just going to work. Definitely more action in this than Suicide Squad with Harley Quinn. Or at least better.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's one thing they fixed with this.
Mhm.
I just
I
keep smiling. Oh
Yeah,
my
me too.
gosh.
I'm
It's
like
so
smiling
much
this
fun.
whole movie.
Yeah, and I think that's
She
where the
just
R
set
rating
the
kind
guy-
Yeah.
Which is kind of a perfect segue. So just kind of curious for you guys' thoughts on this question here. The box office. So Harley Quinn and the Fabulous and the Emancipation of one Harley Quinn Birds of Prey film. I'll bring it up on a ticket here. So opening weekend made 33 million on 4,200 plus screens, domestically 84 total, and worldwide 201 million. So a lot of people took that as it was a box office failure, so the production of the film, 84 million, it ended up grossing 200 million. You add in, the promotions and the marketing. It wasn't a flop. It wasn't a failure. It didn't break even per se, but it wasn't as terribly bad as people made it out to be when this film came out earlier this year. Because it is the fourth, and this doesn't mean much. It is the fourth highest grossing film of 2020, but we all know it hasn't been, Black Widow, Mulan, and all the films we were supposed to get. Wonder Woman, it would have blew the doors off the box office. But just curious, starting with Joe. Again, 201 on an 84 million is good for a Blumhouse film, good for an independent film, but it is a superhero comic book movie. And the last time we saw her in Suicide Squad, it almost made 800 million. So just kind of your thoughts on the box office of this film. Was it the rating? Was it the marketing? Was it the title? Just your thoughts, guys.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that mixed in. I also think that we got this around the time that overseas, at least, coronavirus was starting to expand and become a thing. I think we in the U.S. were a little sheltered by it for a while, but then when it hit hard. But so I think that's part of it as well. But in terms of DC, I think there's two things. One is DC has this. The uncanny ability to throw characters into leading roles right away, thinking that they have enough ground to stand on. And when we had only ever seen this character of Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad, which was a failed movie that people hated, then taking a character out of that and expecting that you're going to do really well and blow out the box office with it just doesn't seem to make sense to me. I think you need to set that character up a little bit more in another appearance in another film. So that's number one. Number two is DC fans are very vindictive, and a lot of eye rolls when I say release a Snyder cut, but I do believe that movement had a lot to do with it, where people didn't like what DC was doing post Justice League, and just swore that they weren't going to, support in terms of this. The final piece is that, unfortunately, we see. I feel like this is always my shtick on these streams. We see that female action heroes don't do as well in movies, and that's just. I hate that, but it's reality. And I think that we saw that with Captain Marvel, right? Captain Marvel ended up doing well in the theaters, but even before it came out, it was getting crapped on because it was a female superhero. So I'm hoping that is not a deterrent for the new ownership of WB, who seems to look at box office performance and say, like, throw it all out, or throw something else against the wall and see what sticks. Because I think this is actually really good movie for what it is.
Yeah, no, well said, man. And Curious to know your thoughts on this, Sean. Again, it's the first rated R DCEU film, not including the Joker, but just, DCEU. What do you think was, 84 million, which again, we don't even really get superhero movies outside of Deadpool that doesn't cost more than $1 million, right? So seeing 84 on a superhero movies is, I think, something that we should see a lot more because we get those practical effects in the hand-to-hand combat fights. But just your thoughts on why it didn't necessarily blow the doors off the box office, a la a Suicide Squad or a Venom of that case, another character that, a lot of people were like, where's Spider-Man? But almost made $1 billion. But yeah.
Right. I think it's twofold. I think one is the marketing. I think the giant title with 17 different variations on it didn't really help it. But I think the biggest thing, honestly, is the timing. Like, it grossed $200 million, but it was realistically only in the theaters for like 5 weeks. It didn't get released in China. It barely got released in Japan. Like, these huge markets that it would have made like probably a lot of money in. Mm-hmm. They didn't even get the film yet. So if you think about what you would have gotten from that, maybe this could have been a $400 million film, thinking that a film like Venom, while again, it's a really fun film, but it's not the greatest in the world, really got a huge bump from China. So I think that, if you take another swing at this character, and obviously, hopefully, in our lifetime, we'll have no coronavirus, but we'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. Why not give it a try? And again, like you said, it was 80 something million and it still grossed 200 million off of that. So I don't think of it as a failure. I think of it as, as successful as it could be given the timing.
Yeah, no, perfectly said. Again, we're having the introduction of Birds of Prey, characters people weren't used to. There's that aspect. There is the rated R aspect is there. It is a thing that, can help some films like Deadpool, can hurt some films. When the ratings, when people can't take kids to see this film, again, superhero films kind of fall in the, kids want to see the next superhero movie, but they can't see this because it's rated R. So just your thoughts on that, Jaren, too, just regarding your thoughts on the box office of this film. Were you expecting it to kind of be the next, $500+ million box office hit for like Shazam was, another obscure type of character that, was able to gross a certain amount? But just your thoughts on that, man.
It's one of those things where I wish a movie like this would gross that high amount of money, but also a movie like this is never going to get the same amount as a leading role character or somebody who's a big, well-known superhero like a Batman or a Spider-Man or something like that. Yeah. But also timing definitely played a huge factor in it. Yeah, because of the virus going around. But also just it was released in February. I feel like January, February movies, they don't get a lot of buzz as it is. It's kind of, I don't know. I felt like it was kind of an odd time to put this film out in the first place. But yeah, I mean, definitely not a failure from what it grossed. All factors that played into it. I think it did really, really well for what it was given, the opportunities it had. Yeah. But also, I think a lot of that played into it was the fact that they tended to second guess themselves with the title, really quadruple guess themselves. They could not just stick with the name. Yeah. And I think that hurt them a little bit because when people see that the studio is unsure with what they have here, they're not going to be as willing to go out and spend their money to see it. Yeah. Plus DCEU hasn't had the cleanest track record either. So there's a lot of stuff that played into it, but all of that aside, I still think it did really, really well.
Yeah, I mean, again, just behind the scenes, you have Cathy Yan, first-time director. You have Christina Hopkins, I believe. This was her either first or I think it's her second script because she wrote Bumblebee, and she's going to be writing The Flash and all this other stuff. So there's that aspect. You have new talent working on this film. And then, I think with February, I think the idea was to play off Valentine's Day. Yeah. Also playing into, again, Deadpool came out in February, the first movie. Out playing to that market, and then obviously Black Panther, different story, but that came out in February and then played to Black History Month. So I think they were trying to hit that market, but just again, I think Corona was just kind of starting, so it obviously kind of hurt it. But again, just your thoughts on it, AJ. Were you expecting this film to be a box office hit, and before going into it, and just your overall thoughts of the final number of 201 million at the box office that I ended up getting?
I didn't think it was going to be as huge. No, I didn't think it was going to be that huge, but I thought it was going to be more huge than it was. And I thought more people were going to enjoy it, especially after seeing it in the theaters and then going home and then like looking at people's, reviews. I was like kind of dumbfounded. I was like, how did you guys not have fun with this film? I just didn't understand that. But yes, I do think the R rating had something to do with it. I think the pandemic had a lot to do with it. I think DC not having the best track record, Harley Quinn just coming off of Suicide Squad, which wasn't loved by many. I think all that played into it, and it's unfortunate because this film was really good. And I like I said, when I watched the trailer, I was hyped. I was ready, for this film. It looked so good, and the music. I listen to the soundtrack. I do that a lot when a film is coming out. I listen to the soundtrack before the film comes out just to kind of like see where they place the songs and things like that. And I was like, when I listened to the soundtrack, I was like, oh, this is probably going to be a good movie. And then I saw where all the songs were placed, and that added to it. But yeah, like I thought that it was going to be more love than it was. But I didn't think it was going to be the biggest hit, like a Batman movie or, anything like that.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. And I think too, with the, premiering on HBO Max tonight and VOD and buying a Blu-ray, I think it's picking up its audience. People are finding this movie later on, like Kristen, she just bought it a couple weeks ago, and I think it's going to get a following, but I did wish that it did a little bit more at the box office, and we're at this point before we get to Miss Flamingo's thoughts, we're at the point now where we're seeing the backstory of Huntress, which again, going back to comic book accuracy, this was probably one of the more comic book accurate adaptations of this character, because it follows kind of much similar beat by beat of her family being assassinated and being a mob boss or a daughter of a mob boss. So this was pretty accurate, but now we get the funniness. Oh, who am I? Which, by the way, let me just bring up for those at home.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Oh, shoot.
So we're just crossing that hour at 4-minute mark where, again, we're getting the backstory of Huntress. Say her name. That's her name. Get used to it.
Yeah.
I love this little interaction here in the backstory we get from this character.
Yeah.
But yeah, Miss Flamingo, this same question for everyone on the panel. Just your thoughts on the box office results, and did you expect it to be higher number? Did it sound about right? Should they have not made it rated R from a bigger audience in international markets?
Well, first of all, I was a little on the fence when they decided to make it an R-rated film, because I was like, okay, because during my time, in college and everything, I was babysitting, and a lot of young girls really liked Harley Quinn because they were young enough to see Suicide Squad, and
Right.
Wonder Woman wasn't just out yet, so a lot of girls looked up to Harley Quinn because they're kind of like superhero, because like girls like I used to watch, used to be like 5 years old and used to look up to Harley Quinn. So it got me saying, why are they making this rated R if not a lot of audiences or families can take their young child to see it? And now I see why, because this film was a lot of fun for its R-rated thing. So I'm kind of happy that they stuck with its R rating.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's totally a box office fail. I think, given the fact that it has its R rating, it made back what it was. I didn't see it grossing no more than given like at least $500 million. Like I didn't see it grossing anything higher than that. So but other than that, with the marketing, I think there was a lot of marketing. I loved the promotions that they did with like the soundtrack and some of the product placements and stuff like that. So I really liked that, but the time of the coronavirus was what really drove a lot of this, it making money. And then there are so many other titles that got released between like January and February, because we got all those Oscar movies that everybody likes to go see in theaters. Sonic came out around that time, and I was one of the ones that was like, hey, either Sonic or Harley Quinn. And I saw Sonic, so there was just like some other good films, and then you had an audience that that wasn't ready for, you know, a female-driven superhero, so, or anti-hero. So a lot of things played into it. I don't think the title as much. I think because I didn't really care about the title, so. But yeah, there was just a
Can you
lot
say
of
it 3 times
factors.
fast?
No,
I can't even say it one time fast.
Me either.
Yeah, it's a whack.
I don't know why they just didn't stick to what Birds of Play or just call it Harley Quinn, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, come on. It was
Harley
simple as
Quinn the
that.
movie.
It was simple as that.
The film definitely wanted to play on, again, the kind of the comic book kind of fun, joking. Like even the title is a funny, you know, but again, I think it hurt. It kind of hurt the box office.
Yeah,
with
it
that
hurt
long
more than
title.
it helped.
Yeah, and you know, you brought up a great point, Ms. Flamingo, regarding little girls looking up to Harley Quinn, and like you just said, not being able to see her because it's rated R. That is a very great point. They have to wait till they're 18. Well, I'm sure kids watch this film when their parents aren't home or whatever. We all have done that. But it is
No way.
But it's a great point. It is unfortunate they weren't able to see this next adventure of her and other kick-ass women. That is a very interesting and fascinating point to this character. But I think the rated R probably played into some logistics of like, oh, what age group really gravitates toward Harley Quinn between 18 and 25 or versus the little kids, you know. So maybe that's why they went that route and not having that restriction on the characters and being kind of free to do whatever they want in this film, which they definitely did.
I think it really worked. Yeah, I think it really worked for this film. The PG-13 didn't really work for Suicide Squad. If we got a R Suicide Squad, I think it would have actually worked better, honestly. Because of the grittiness of the subject matter, you know.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough to make, you know, those types of films family friendly because that's not reality. You know what I'm saying?
100%. I mean, literally. Suicide Squad. I mean,
like exactly what that type of name. It fits an R rating, but I don't know.
That's why
they decided to do something else.
And that's why when they brought on James Gunn for the next one, I just thought that was perfect because you're taking a ragtag bunch of characters like he did with Guardians of the Galaxy, and trying to set like he's gonna. He's gonna play into the corniness, and you know, like King Shark is likely going to be one of the characters that we're getting. So come on, like we're getting into the crazy comic side of things, and I'm pumped for that.
Yeah, me too.
Sure.
Yeah,
I really hope King Shark is a much more fleshed out character than Killer Croc, because I thought that character was just very, very underwhelming, to say the least.
I think a lot of the characters in Suicide Squad were underwhelming, but I think it's just the direction they took with it. I don't think it had to do with the portrayals of the characters. I think it just had to do with big names. Will Smith, Margot Robbie, they were the face of the Suicide Squad, and they wanted to show them so they can, you know, it's all about this, man.
So we've all heard there's an Ayer cut out there. Do you guys think that would actually be any better?
We talked about that last week.
Yeah,
really?
We can definitely transition into that now. You know, starting with, you know, to answer Jaren's question, starting with Joe, do you want to see release the Ayer cut for the Suicide Squad on a la HBO Max next year sometime?
I think I would contradict myself with how I feel about the Snyder Cut if I said no. I mean, I do believe that every director should be able to deliver the film that they want. And it is well known that this movie was messed with. The Suicide Squad was messed with. They reshot a lot of it. There were the tone issues. As soon as they saw how everyone was responding to how great the trailers were and how fun they were, that's when they went back and were like, recut some of this. So I don't know. I mean, do I think it's going to live up to the hype of like completely changing the movie? No, because it sounds like in comparison to the Snyder Cut, we don't have a like 4.5 hour movie that's out there that lost a lot of its momentum and a lot of its storytelling. It seems like there's just certain choices that were left out. Do I think we'll see it? I think if The Tax Collector hadn't just come out and bombed, perhaps we would have.
Yeah.
I don't know that Ayer is on the up and up right now, or has the most down. He's really going down. So
it's unfortunate because he's a pretty, you know, end to watch, and him writing Training Day and you know, Fury. Right? I don't know what happened to that guy.
I know. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
But yeah, same for you, Sean. Just your thoughts on releasing the air cut and kind of going off of Joe's comments of the director's vision and following through with that. Is that something you would like to see?
Wait, can I cut in real quick, Sean, on you?
Yeah, no, go ahead, Joe.
The last piece I was going to say is if we weren't getting another Suicide Squad movie, I think there would be a better chance of it.
And
that is a great point.
I was going to bring up because
oh, sorry.
no, it's totally okay. Yeah, if you know, yeah, we're getting a new Suicide Squad. So while I think that it should come out, I'm not as excited as I am for the Snyder Cut because of knowing that we have all that extra footage and knowing that Justice League, for no uncertain terms, was complete garbage when it came out. You know, anything could be better than what came out. But yeah, we're already getting a new Suicide Squad. So if it wasn't for that, I would probably be a little bit more excited about it. But as of right now, I'm more excited about what James Gunn is going to do than what Robert Ayers or David Ayers' patchwork is going to be.
Yeah. No, it's some great points with and there's a lot of Suicide Squad synergy right now. The announce of the video game, Suicide Squad kills the Justice League, and obviously James Gunn. So these are characters they really, and I think if I were a betting man, I think the idea of the Suicide Squad initially in the DC 2016 was to introduce these characters and then branch out, and you're going to see them in Batman. You're going to see them in maybe a Justice League Injustice type of situation. So I think that was the idea. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll see that come to fruition. But yeah, same. I mean, going to your question, Jaren, do you want to see an haircut, my friend?
You mentioned the tax collector, and that right there kind of explains my thoughts altogether. I've rooted for this guy, and then I saw this, and I just wonder if there's any hope left for him. I hope he does something well, but that's the worst movie I've seen all year. It was atrocious, and you know, it's a cool commodity to know that there's director's cuts out there,
right?
But sometimes I wonder, does it actually need to be released? Just because they're out there doesn't mean we need to see them. And it makes me wonder, is Suicide Squad, were they just trying to salvage the most they could out of that story? Was his cut actually as good as he claims it was? There's a lot of things. I'm not as invested in it as I was at one point. And especially, the new Suicide Squad coming out. That's what I'm looking forward to. I think we've moved on from that. I don't need to see it personally. I kind of wanted to, but I don't know. The guy's kind of gone down a weird trail. Yeah. And I don't know if there's any coming back from it.
No,
I mean, that's like asking a couple years ago if we really want to see the Josh Trank Fan 4 stick cut.
No. Good point, man. Yeah. Well, I think to play, and not to go at David Ayer's character, but I think he definitely played on the idea that Zack Snyder was getting his cut, and even before the confirmation, he was tweeting out pictures of Jared Leto test footage and where he wanted the character to go, this, that, and the other. But
publicity stunt.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's kind of a gimmick.
Yeah, so I don't know if we'll ever see that cut hit the see the light of day. But again, HBO Max, they want to get more subscribers. It's a great marketing ploy, just like it is for Snyder's Cut. So who knows what the future holds? But AJ, same for you, man. I think we talked about it last week, but just to reiterate what you said last week of seeing an air cut, is that something you would like to see inevitably?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind an air cut. I think it's probably going to drop on HBO Max. You know, it's not going to be anything that somebody's going to go out and, purchase, extra.
Yeah, this is true. Josh Trank does.
Sorry, I'm laughing at the
Josh Trank is going to come for somebody.
Oh, yeah. He'll come at 13-year-old kids. Yeah. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, but no, it's okay. I don't have a problem with it. I'll probably watch it because I didn't hate Suicide Squad. But yeah, is it needed? I don't know. Probably not. It's probably not going to make it any better, but Now
we're seeing the squad come together in the next couple of scenes. But yeah, same with you, Miss Flamingo. Your thoughts on the releasing the air cut?
I totally forgot about the air cut, honestly. Once I heard James Gunn was directing, Suicide Squad or the Suicide Squad, I was like, sold, forget it.
Yeah.
Let's just bring in James. Let's do it all. And, we don't need it. I mean, no offense to Josh Trank, I also would like to see a release cut of Fantastic Four, only because I want to laugh. And then I would also am starting a campaign for the Mark Webb director's cut of the
You've gone too far, Bumper. Get her out. Get her out.
Well, because Shailene Woodley was cut out, and I want to see what she was given for that film. So
probably worked out better for her career.
That movie is amazing as it is. I don't think it needs to be touched. Don't at me. I love it.
Very nice.
It's a good fun movie to laugh at because it's ridiculous, but you know.
Yeah, no, it's
no Ayer cut, please.
Yeah, you guys.
Cut.
Yeah, you guys said it perfectly. If Tax Collector would have blown the doors off critics, people loved it, then I think there would have been a little bit more goodwill. And plus, we all know Zack Snyder has a huge, much larger fan base. And no disrespect to David Ayer, but he's nowhere near the same name as Zack Snyder. So I know he has fans. I'm one of them. I'm still a fan of David Ayer. I think there's still a great, talented director/writer in him. We've seen it before. I just think I don't know what he needs to do, because the thing was, Suicide Squad was his first big blockbuster film, and, could be overwhelming. But then we saw it with Bright. Then we saw it again with the most recent Tax Collector, which was a back to his old days, less of a budget, more of a grimier type of story. But it's just, I don't know what's going on with the guy, man.
I think his ego's just hurt. I don't think he personally knows how to recover. I think he's genuinely hurt by the reaction he got from Suicide Squad. He probably thought what he made was amazing. And maybe not many people did.
He needs a break.
That's a great point too. Because 2016 Suicide Squad, 2018 2018 Bright, and then right back at every 2 years. He's just like, and some directors can do that, right? They can put out a movie every other year and be just as good as the last one. But maybe he does need to take a break. And I don't know, maybe he's like M. Night, right? Where M. Night was knocking it out of the park, and then he did Lady in the Water, and did Last Airbender, The Village, and After Earth, and he just took a break for like 3 or 4 years. So maybe that's what David Ayer needs to do, or maybe TV, do a TV show.
And to watch TV shows.
Exactly,
that would be cool.
That would be very interesting.
Very interesting.
I'd love to see that.
See him and do a couple episodes, just like, again, because I don't know if you guys M. Night Servant on Apple TV. It's a phenomenal show. So maybe David Ayer needs to do some TV episodes and then come back to the director we know him of, back in
That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea.
Days. Do we know and love him though? Like, because honestly, think about all the movies that you just mentioned, right? Yeah, and the downward trajectory. There were more clunkers than not.
As a writer, Fast and Furious, he is the writer of the very first Fast and Furious, which kind of goes into his tropes of family and all that stuff. He wrote Training Day. My favorite actor is Denzel. He got an Oscar from the script that David Ayer wrote. In the Watch, I really love In the Watch, man. Like, that is one of my favorite. Like,
amazing.
So good.
Yeah, and Fury, I think, is phenomenal. John Berthal didn't die in the first 5 minutes. It was good to see him direct that film. Yeah, he wrote and directed Fury. So. And that was 2014. So I think he has a really good track record. I think Sabotage is where we start to see the cracks in the armor with him in the Arnold Schwarzenegger film, and again with Suicide Squad. And so I think he has it in him to make a comeback. It's just a matter of the right script, the right story, and something that he can kind of put a lot of passion. Because I think AJ, when we were on the Suicide Squad panel last week, Alex brought it up that he only had 6 weeks to write the Suicide Squad.
And it explained a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that was I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah.
6 weeks.
Here we go. Here, IRS spinoff, the Tax Collector. Yep, there we go. Get him a TV show and have
Alex
get some more. For everyone on the panel, have all you guys seen the Tax Collector?
No, but I want to.
No, I haven't. But I think I'm gonna watch it.
Gotcha. Okay.
I want to watch it.
I have.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Jaren sounds depressed.
Shia LaBeouf, Creeper.
What told me was the Shia LaBeouf fully body tattoo. I was like, you know what?
You don't even see the tattoos. Not a spoiler. You don't see them.
You do see it, but it's like literally for 10 seconds.
It was
super quick.
to actually
You got
have
that
that
for
permanently on
nothing.
your body, ridiculous.
It had nothing to do
You
with
got
the
that for
story. It had,
nothing.
I'm thinking of Henry Cavill right now with the mustache and Fallout, which had nothing to do with the story at all.
No.
That's how I felt about that too.
That being said, though, Shia LaBeouf was my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah,
I
you
Okay.
barely get
Okay.
performance.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. From what he was given, he wasn't given much at all.
Oh yeah, not much at all. But Alex from Altered HD Geek says, "I'm waiting for Army of the Dead." Zack Snyder. Yeah, I'm waiting for that too. It's
Same
really.
here.
I don't know if
Yeah.
you guys saw in the news yesterday that I can't think of the actress name, but an actress was replacing the comedian Chris.
Christelle, yeah.
Christina, Tig Notaro.
Yeah,
Tig
they're
Notaro's replacing him.
completely taking him out of the film and adding this new actress to the film, which I think is
Good move.
Yeah. It's just so funny though, like Zack Snyder again, another reshoots, and like hopefully we don't have a release the Army of the Dead Chris cut of the film, and people want
Joss Whedon won't be in for these.
Yeah.
We should
Oh
be
my
okay.
gosh.
No, but I'm really looking forward to that. Hopefully we get it this year. We really haven't heard, like literally Zack Snyder's Justice League has taken over his whole career so
Yeah.
far. So I don't know what's going on with that film, but hopefully we get it this year.
You know, the girl who plays Cassandra Cain, I don't know if you guys know Dante Basco, the voice of Zuko on the Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
Cassandra Cain is his niece.
Oh,
Or
wow.
the actress that plays Cassandra Cain on this movie.
Speaking of Cassandra Cain, did any of you guys get the vibe of Rusty from Deadpool 2? Looking at her?
Yeah,
Just
a little
like
bit.
her character in general? Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see
Except to me, she's like the less annoying version.
it. Yeah, Rusty
yeah,
was
'cause he was-
very annoying.
Yeah.
But that was the point, though. That was
Yeah.
the point.
Yeah.
And now we're finally, which I guess going back to when I reviewed this film back in February, one of my criticisms was that Birds of Prey as a group we're and I'm going to bring it up on the screen now. We're an hour and 23 minutes into an hour and 45-minute film. So the last 20 minutes of the film is when we finally see the Birds of Prey.
Yes.
My only one that has an issue with that concept.
I have an issue with it.
Yeah. Joe, what's your thoughts on the timing of when they finally become a group with less than 20 minutes of the film to go?
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, I hate that. It's the same thing that happened in the Power Rangers remake in 2017. It's the same thing. I'm trying to think what we just watched. I feel like it was on a watch along that we were talking about this. It's actually
Four.
Fantastic Four. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Where Dr. Doom pops up. He's like the biggest baddest, one of the biggest baddest characters in Marvel, and like 15 minutes left in the film, he's like, "Hey guys." It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
So I'm with you there. I don't know why they made that choice. One thing that I think is a flaw of this film is they don't do a good enough job of explaining Birds of Prey. They did take some liberties with how the Birds of Prey came together, and with acting as though Harley was like the center of it all when really she's not in the comics. Which is why that name was originally what it was, right? Like the Birds of Prey are helping emancipate her, so to speak.
Right.
But I bet you the Warner Brothers brass didn't even know what they were doing with that. And they were like, oh, it's a Harley Quinn movie.
Yep. No, that's a great point. And like you said, I think with Harley bringing them together, kind of the same idea. Hunters again with just the best line. Like Batman, for example, again, big Batman fan. Batman is not bringing the Justice League together, right? But in this version of Justice League, Ben Affleck is the one that teams, gets the Justice League together. So it's always interesting when they take that big IP character and attaching them to these unknown characters. But yeah, what's your thoughts, Sean? And we got about 15, 20 minutes left of the film. Did you dislike the timing of when they become a group?
I think I have less of a problem with it just because it's more of the origin story of how they all get brought together and then they fight the big bad at the end. I think what the big issue, like my one big issue with the film, is just kind of an overall character development because we're so used to superhero movies being 210, 220, 245, we're used to these big, grandiose, like explanatory films, and this only being 148 with credits.
Yeah.
We're not given that extra time to really dive into the characters more. But I with it being like an origin story of how this group is brought together, I'm not I would have probably liked maybe 5 to 10 more minutes of just like kind of everything, but it had like keeping it to the end. I really didn't have that big of an issue with it.
Gotcha. And as we kind of get to this next, is this another favorite scene of yours, AJ?
It is. It really is. I love it. My favorite scene, though. My favorite scene of the film is when they're in the what do you call it, with where they put all the confiscated materials, contraband and all that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the police station scene.
Yeah, the police station scene. Mm-hmm. But the second part of the scene, because there's that scene and then they do like a rewind and then they continue it. So the second part of that's my favorite part. But yeah, is it Jaren's turn? I don't know.
Yeah, no, Jaren's turn regarding just, you know, the group coming together towards the end of the film. And it's something we've seen in other superhero films and just movies and action movies. You know, the group finally gets together on the same page with, you know, take out the villain. But, you know, I think just your thoughts on that, Jaren. Did you want to see more of them as a group for the majority of the film, or are you okay with the kind of the how they put them together?
I guess I'm kind of like Sean in this case, because I was kind of fine with how they did it. I liked how they set it all up. Also, I think the characters are so entertaining in this film by themselves, how they set them up. So it wasn't that big of an issue for me. Right. I would have liked to see more of them together, I guess. But I guess that's for us to see in the future. It didn't bother me too much.
Okay. What about you, AJ? Did it bother you at all, man?
I actually like it a lot. And kind of going off what Jaren was saying, this film was to set up each character, and by the end, the payoff is the birds of prey. So I think that's how I looked at it, and I could really appreciate that. So yeah, that's my take on it. I know some people didn't care for that because it's supposed to be birds of prey film. They're supposed to be, you know, together the whole film, but I really loved how they did it. I love pretty much every aspect of this film, honestly. I do.
I love it, man. I love it. But yeah, I think, and Miss Flamingo, before I get my 2 cents in, just kind of your thoughts too. I know you said that you didn't like that. If you want to kind of elaborate on a little bit more regarding the team up being the last half of the film.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of a little too late because I just felt like, you know, we should have gotten them as a team sooner and trying to figure out, you know, how they're going to defeat, you know, Black Mask. And, you know, it just, you know, I was waiting for, you know, sitting down on my couch, waiting for them to all come up. And then knowing it's like, basically like we only have 20 minutes left of the film. I was like, really? Yeah. The whole point of the movie is called Harley Quinn and Birds of Prey. Why am I seeing them all as a team? And it was advertised as a team. Yeah. So, you know, I feel like that's a little misleading unless, like, you know, do I enjoy, like, all the individual scenes themselves, like, you know, when they aren't together? Yeah. But I wish they were, you know, had that more team effort more. Like, it just seems so rushed, you know, where they need to come together. And I wish that, you know, we had more time to see them all, like, you know, take down, you know, these bad guys and, you know. Yeah, I'm with you. So Elliot, like, you know, more time with them.
Yeah, that to me, in regards to just kind of criticism that I had, that being one of them. Again, we talked about it earlier, Black Mask, or not seeing him as the persona Black Mask until the end of the film. That would have been kind of nice. And I don't know if the film would have worked better if they would have established it where Harley already knew of the Birds of Prey and maybe was bringing them back together to take on Black Mask. So they already have that existing relationship versus, again, the way that this film plays out. I don't know if it would have worked better, but it would have been interesting to see it that way, in my opinion. But we didn't get it that way. But I am okay with, you know, this film ultimately, though. I did enjoy it, but I just wish it was maybe played out a little bit differently. But yeah. I love that design though of Black Mask. Just the visual of that mask is so cool to me.
Yeah,
I wish we saw it more. I really do.
Same here. Same here, man.
Really I was just gonna say, I think that's something that they really failed with too. Was in the marketing for the movie. You didn't see Black Mask until I think it was like the week before they released a new preview.
Yeah,
they were really marketing it hard as the Harley Quinn movie.
Right.
Yeah.
They probably could have gotten by with just calling this movie the Fantabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn.
I was going to get to that. Yeah, it's just like I'm so again, going back to my criticism, I wish that the film would have almost just been a Harley Quinn movie with the accents of these characters. Because again, I think that was the idea. This was because there was so much talk. Again, we forget that this was 4 years since we've seen Harley Quinn. And it sounds so long ago, but it's 2016 Suicide Squad. This is 2020, and with so many different things of her and the Joker having a film, her and Poison Ivy. What was it? David Ayer was supposed to do Gotham Sirens as a spinoff film. There were so many different things in the work, and this was the one they chose. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, because again, I'm a big DC nerd. There was some, what is the director's name? I'm blanking on his name. Oh my goodness, this is going to kill me. There was some story that a director wanted to do a similar story to this, but DC decided to go this route. I can't remember. Joe, do you remember a story like that? It was some director who was, I don't want to say it was Penguin, but it was something like that, where it was one of the spinoffs where it was like almost essentially this film, but they wanted to go this route instead of, I can't remember.
Yeah, wasn't it something like when it was in this at the same time that they were talking about when Joker was in development? They were, I think, exploring all of the different villains that they could bring up, and I do think Penguin may have been the one. I think you're right with that. But wasn't there also like a Riddler rumor as well, or? I don't know. I feel like
so much stuff.
It's hard to keep straight between the dark villain universe that they have going on this and then whatever the Robert Pattinson film's going to be incorporated in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but I always feel like this scene like kind of reminds me of Bad Boys for Life. That one scene, the car chase scene.
Even the color.
It's almost identical.
I think this was part of because again, going back to all the stuff we know behind the scenes about the reshoots, everyone was so scared about reshoots. I think this was one of the additional scenes or touching up this scene with the action of this particular half of the film.
Great addition.
Yeah,
for
sure. Yeah, I wish I could remember that story. But either way, like I say, there was so many different things that DC had in the works, whether it be a Cyborg film, whether it be a Batgirl film with Joss Whedon. I mean, they've literally thrown so much at us in the last 5 or 6 years that didn't come to fruition. Yeah. Which kind of did.
Oh, no, I was just going to say really quick, I really do hope, though, the next way that they go about this is getting that Harley Poison Ivy film. I think that would be the next best way to go.
Love to see that, and maybe cast Ana de Armas as Harley or Poison Ivy.
That'd be interesting. That'd be really interesting. But do we feel like Ana de Armas can personify Poison Ivy though? I don't know about that, especially from the Poison Ivy.
She can do anything she wants to, AJ.
Yeah, exactly.
And Jaren.
Exactly.
What you say?
First Mary Elizabeth Winstead, now Ana de Armas. Okay.
Good taste, though. Two talented actresses, but
Ana de Armas is talented. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, but I feel like she has Poison Ivy has like a certain persona that I don't know if Ana de Armas can capture, but possibly. Yeah.
I think her and seeing her in Bond, see her do an action film in Bond would be a good testament. And then
I think that'll be a testament
to portray Marilyn Monroe next year, which I'm really excited for. So I think those two roles will really kind of put a spotlight on her as an actress. And I don't know if you guys saw the horror film Knock Knock with Keanu Reeves and her kind of playing a villainous type of character there. So.
Not a great movie, but
not a great movie.
Foreshadowing to what she could possibly do.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think 2049 was great too. So
yeah,
I was gonna say that's my favorite.
Love that movie.
What was it, Joy? Was that her character's name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're getting to the conclusion again. Not a world-ending threat, just two people on a bridge.
Isn't Ben Affleck dating Ana de Armas?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm happy for the guy.
I'm sure you are, Jaren.
Hey, man.
No, I just mean he's gone through a lot of crap. Give him something good.
Yeah, good for him on Ana de Armas. I think Ben Affleck, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's today's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, there was like a thing on Instagram too.
Yeah.
Like they took pictures. I think she turned like 32 and they had like a quarantine birthday party.
Yeah.
It was cute.
Kristen, I like how you're like, I think this is what happened, but they took pictures. They started around 9 a.m. Just like I haven't seen them all, but they should be published tomorrow morning on people.com.
Overly specific guess.
Very specific. That's funny.
So, since we're at the conclusion, how satisfied are we with how the film concluded?
Again, it goes back to my Black Mask as a villain. I wish they didn't. I mean, I don't think we're gonna get any. To be honest, it sucks. I don't think we're gonna see these characters, this particular group of people again. But I would have loved to have kept him alive. But I'm not a big fan of the death of Black Mask. But
I forgot that happened. Whoa.
Yeah. Spoilers.
Spoiler.
No, but
I think it felt rushed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm. This is where 10 more minutes of the movie could have done a really good,
100%.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
But that is pretty badass though.
that was crazy. That was crazy.
pretty crazy.
I don't care what y'all say. That was awesome.
Nah, it's cool. They took a risk there for sure.
with the way that he died.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way that he died was crazy, insane.
Yeah.
But killing him off so early, I kind of would want to see more of him. But
Exactly.
I was satisfied with that.
He's gone.
He's
But again, I mean, just kind of going off of, we talked about his performance earlier. In a scene, we were kind of talking about some other stuff. But one of the scenes that I do remember we were talking about the menacing side of him when he made that girl dance on the dance table, right? That's such a meaningful moment for that act to that character in the film. That was a pretty intense moment in the movie.
It was. I wish he had his mask on when he was doing that.
That would have been,
that would have just added another level to it.
I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't have had the same effect though if he had his mask on, because to me it was like this was like his coming out moment, because he was around all his friends, and then at that moment he revealed himself to be the jerk he really was to everybody close to him.
Right.
That's why it made her so uncomfortable.
I guess so.
Dude, I don't know. This film is just making me even hungrier. That sandwich at the beginning, the burritos, what they're eating now, looks delicious. Some margaritas.
Harley Quinn knows good food.
She clearly
certainly does.
They did with this movie with food what Quentin Tarantino does with feet.
Yes, get it in your face. Yeah.
But I don't know if we talked about this much, but Rosie Perez too was great in this film as well.
For sure.
Like,
I thought she was fun.
like off of the 80s cop cliched.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I just wish they embraced her more like the rest of the gang, because I feel like they looked at her as like a nuisance until the very end.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody else had their moment where they came together and they were kind of in agreement, but she always was treated like the pest.
Yeah, until like the very end. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you.
And she gets away.
Yeah. Which, I mean, this, and again, I think, I don't know if we'll see these characters again, but this is kind of a good send off. Even though I wish the group was together more, could have opened the door for them and their own little adventures as the Birds of Prey.
Yep.
Minus Harley Quinn.
Well, and they were trying to get that Birds of Prey TV show off the ground for CW for the longest time. I don't know if they're actually still doing that, or
a Harley Quinn show for CW.
No, it was Birds of Prey. It was
Birds of Prey.
Wasn't an early 2000 Birds of Prey TV show on CW?
That was, on NBC.
NBC, okay, yeah.
Really?
Was that animated or was that live action?
Yeah.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
When was this?
2002, I think. 2002.
Oh my god, I gotta look this up.
Yeah, that was before
I didn't know
I
it.
got into this type of stuff.
You wouldn't recognize it. It's very different. But what I wonder with HBO Max if that had any bearing on their decision not to move forward with. And I'm assuming they're not moving forward with it. I feel like I read that.
I think
the Huntress, she needs to get rid of that Max.
If they could do that on HBO Max, and that's kind of a backdoor of what we had talked about with different characters being explored via the TV shows on Max.
Oh my god, this does not look like the Birds of Prey like I would think of.
Oh, you're looking at it? Yeah, it's like
I'm just looking at it now.
I don't know.
I just see the perfect side by side. They put one picture, it's like Harley Quinn and what we're watching, and the Birds of Prey. Wow, that's a huge difference.
Early 2000s, where
it's laughable.
Didn't know what the characters were. They were just like, oh, let's just make a show about these.
Did you guys see the Justin Hartley Aquaman
Yes, and that was I actually really liked it.
I don't know. I never watched the show, but the poster, I'm just like
Justin Hartley, the guy from This Is Us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
Whoa.
one
it's like an
episode.
Aquaman show.
What episode?
It was
Yeah,
a
it was only one episode.
pilot. It was a pilot, and
It
then
didn't take off.
they never picked it up, and then it actually never even aired. But
Yeah.
you can find it online, and it's actually not bad.
Okay.
But then he got poached for Green Arrow in Smallville.
Mhm.
Yeah. I feel like it was coming out around that same time. Smallville, right?
Yep. Yeah, it
It
was like
looks
halfway
like
through
it.
Smallville.
I just looked it up too. It looks like it. Yeah. Like he reminds me of what's the guy's name on the Smallville character who played him? Tom Wellington? Is that what his name is?
Tom Welling.
For Superman, yeah.
Tom
I was
Welling,
walking
yeah.
out of the theater
I
to
like
this song. I was jamming.
Yeah. So
I was like jumping.
I know.
That credit sequence.
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
Say, Diamonds is a girl's best friend. You know, I was like, oh man, it's good.
Which, for those at home and on the replay, we are now finishing up the film, which brings us, and I would love to get this from the panel and everyone from the chats, is just kind of final thoughts on Birds of Prey and what next for these characters. We're kind of hinting at it, HBO, maybe HBO Max, but starting with Joe, man, just kind of your overall thoughts of this film. If you want to give it a score, by all means, 1 out of 10, 3 out of 5, whatever you want to do as far as rankings, let us know your score on this film, man.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed it more watching it this time, which is I don't know if it's an expectations thing or what, but it's just a fun film. Margot Robbie is really good in that role. So I will say that I'm not as sold on the supporting cast as much. I think some of them yes, some of them no. But I would love to see the characters explored more in an HBO Max thing. I mean, I honestly was just thinking about that a few minutes ago, and that's the first time when I said it was the first time I thought it. So kind of into that. I would like to see that. I would like to see Harley incorporated more. We're going to see her in live action films more again, right? Like with Suicide Squad and all of that. So for as much as we hate the David Ayer movie, he did produce this Harley Quinn, which is a good thing.
Very true. That is
So yeah. So
I mean,
will they go forward with full, Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey, whatever they want to call it, too?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I do think that they'll play with the property again because they worked well together and the director was great.
Yeah. And did you have a score for this film, man?
Yeah, I can't remember what I gave it back in February because that seems like 7 years ago.
know,
But
right?
I think I gave it a 3 out of 5 at the time just because I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't anything like earth-shattering. It's kind of like Shazam for me. Like Shazam, I really enjoyed, and it was a good movie, but it wasn't again earth-shattering for me because it was writing the ship for DC, and the character himself is not one of my favorites. But I think it would be right around 3 out of 5.
Awesome.
But a solid 3 out of 5.
Solid 3. Awesome. What about you, Sean, in regards to this kind of final thoughts on the film? Does it still hold up for you for the third time you've seen it or whatnot? And if you had a score for this film?
Yeah. It's just as fun as I remember watching it in the theaters. I mean, you don't get that big theater atmosphere, but it's still a really fun movie. For the future, I think going with the Birds of Prey as a series and then keeping Harley Quinn in live action movies, I think would probably be the best way to go, just so you can kind of incorporate more of the episodicness of what the Birds of Prey can do, while still being able to have the flexibility of doing the Harley Quinn with a new Joker or Harley Quinn with Poison Ivy, something like that. My grade for it was a 7.5 out of 10. Just because it was fun. Again, there was some problems with the character development, and we could have used 10, 15 more minutes of the film overall. But again, just really loved it, and glad to watch it again.
Awesome, man. Jaren, man, your score on this film here. I know it probably gets high up there with Mary Elizabeth Winstead in the film.
That definitely played a factor for sure. I definitely mimic what they said, though. I like this way more than the first time I saw it. I don't know. There's just something so refreshing about it. You don't get this very often with DC, and I hope that they continue to go down this route more often. I definitely agree with what Sean said about incorporating Birds of Prey maybe separately from Harley Quinn and HBO Max series. whatever Margot Robbie has for us as the character, I'd love to see. She absolutely nails it. So whatever they have from her, I'm totally down for it. As a score for me, I'd have to give it an 8 out of 10.
Awesome.
Yep.
Cool. AJ, I know this is.
I'm
gonna get you guys' rankings here in a little bit, but I know this is high on your list, man.
You
but,
guys already know.
Yeah.
I was just been freaking out about it the whole time. Yeah, like I just enjoy like the essence that is this film and just everything that we've talked about, discussed, just Gotham in the daytime, like just like all the different kind of aspects. I do love about this film. The soundtrack is something that really gets to me. Also, yeah, so I guess I'll just give my score. I would say honestly, y'all are probably gonna get mad at me for this,
No,
but
hey,
five
man.
out of 5.
Hey,
And then if
Wow.
if I'm gonna have to give it out of 10, I would say 9.5 out of 10.
that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah,
Love it. Miss Flamingo, your final thoughts on this film?
Okay.
It's your second time watching it in the last 2 weeks.
Okay, so y'all can throw the tomatoes at me if you want. I give it a grading score wise at least a 6 out of 10. It's not like I wish we had a little bit more Black Mass. It could have done a little bit more with the ending. To me, how the team came together was rushed, but there were some things I enjoyed, and there was a few other things that I didn't like. But I was happy I revisited it again this week. So but I am excited to see what at least what HBO does have planned for Harley Quinn, if they decide to give her something, or who knows if they decide to give maybe a Birds of Prey, spin-off series, or series for them in general. Maybe I'll check it out. But otherwise, it's just more of a fun movie that you can just check out really like anytime that it's on TV or HBO or wherever you're watching it. It's not as bad as Suicide Squad as what and it's not as bad as what people were telling me. So
yeah, I was gonna ask, like, is everybody in agreement that it's better than Suicide Squad?
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
No, it's not anywhere close. What are you talking
I mean, hey,
Okay.
we talked.
I just want to know
your rankings, but again, I would love for people to share it again. But again, just kind of goes hand in hand.
Mine might have
Joe,
changed a little bit since last week. So
Really?
It, man. Joe, if you want to, I'll bring it up here for you guys and kind of see it. As far as the 8 films that we gotten so far, if you want to do 1 through 8, top 5, top 3, totally up to you. We'd love to know you guys' rankings of the DCEU thus far.
Yeah, so are we counting Joker or no? Are we counting that separate?
Yeah,
okay.
Just the DCEU films thus far.
Yeah, so I am a huge fan of Man of Steel. I think Man of Steel was a great start for this direction of the films. I think it gets crapped on a lot because of the ending, but I think the ending made a lot of sense with the character development, and bringing this character into bringing Superman into the films of today. The biggest complaint is always nothing can stop him. He always wins, whatever. But this developed some more of the humanity in him, and I think was going to be set up really well for Man of Steel 2, which we never got. But there is a rumor that it is one of 2 surprise films to be announced next week. So I'm really hopeful for that. Yeah. After that, this is where I get a lot of crap. I love Batman versus Superman.
So number 2.
Hey.
I will defend it to the end of the day. I have defended it to the end of the day. I will get in fistfights about it. So I really love Batman versus Superman. So that's definitely number 2 for me, the ultimate cut. Then Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and then Birds of Prey in at number 5 there for me. Followed by Shazam, Justice League, and Suicide Squad.
Gotcha. Awesome list, man. I love it. Yeah, I know we've had our watch alongs with BVS, and it's pretty high up there for me too. I think it's beyond its time. It's not a traditional superhero film. We're talking about BVS, but I'm a big fan of that too. But yeah, Sean, your list, man. Again, you could do 1 through 8, 8 through 1, worst to best, top 3, however way you want to lay it out. But just kind of your rankings of the DCEU films thus far.
Yeah, we'll just get these 2 out of the way. We'll put Justice League and Suicide Squad. They're in the kind of like a league of their own, and down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, just bury them and never see them again. Then I have number 6. I have Shazam. and then number 5 is Aquaman. Just two different aspects of what DC had been doing. They're just fun. And then at number 4, I have BVS. Number 3, Man of Steel. Number 2, Birds of Prey. It's just, again, a different aspect and a lot of fun. And number 1, I have Wonder Woman.
Nice.
I really loved what they did with Wonder Woman. Some issues with the third act aside, it's still probably my favorite of what they did.
No doubt. It's an awesome list, man. Jaren, I know you got some letterbox. I hope you got it pulled up. You got your list ready, man. Your rank.
I do. I just actually like made a ranking on Letterboxd real fast because I realized that didn't happen. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna go from the bottom up. So
Yeah.
my number 8 and 7 is Suicide Squad and Justice League. And then I have Aquaman at 6, Shazam at 5, Wonder Woman at 4. Batman v Superman at 3, the ultimate cut, not the theatrical version.
Right.
Birds of Prey at number 2, and Man of Steel at number 1. Absolutely love Man of Steel. I was hoping that maybe like rewatching Birds of Prey it'd take my number 1 spot, but still, I don't know what they did with Man of Steel. I haven't seen anything like it. To me, the best version of Superman ever. Added so much characterization to the character. I loved it all the way around. Yeah.
Nice. AJ, like I said, I know we talked about it last week, but to let everyone on the panel know where it is, man, what's the
Y'all,
rank?
y'all are gonna get mad at me again. So number 8, BBS, theatrical cut and ultimate edition.
Oh,
The worst. Okay, now we got that.
More power to you.
Joe, come back.
Joe has left the chat.
So then 7, Justice League, then Aquaman, then Suicide Squad, number 5, Shazam, number 4, Wonder Woman, number 3, Man of Steel, number 2, and Birds of Prey takes the cake.
Awesome, man. I love the different.
It's different. I know.
It's different. That's a word. It is different. That is the word I would use for sure. But love it, man. Love it. And Miss Flamingo, last but not least, kind of your rankings of the DC films.
So I skipped Justice League when it was in theaters, and I still haven't seen it. So
You're not missing much.
Okay.
Sure, I'm not missing out, is what everybody has told me. I don't have really any intentions unless, it comes under my radar. But other than that, I'm just going to give, it a pass for, Justice League. But the worst one is definitely Suicide Squad. What else we got? I rewatched Batman versus Superman. It's not as bad. So I have to give it my, bottom spot. Then Man of Steel. Then Wonder Woman. Then Aquaman. And then I absolutely adore Shazam. I absolutely loved it. Probably one of my favorites from last year. Because Zachary Levi and what the whole film is, it's about family, it's about fun, and it's just a good overall good time film. Like what I was hoping what I would see with Birds of Prey, but I'm actually feel like rewatching Shazam now just after all this, because it's just that good. Just has that warm feeling of when it reminded me of like a Guardians of the Galaxy type feel, if it's gone to word to direct, Shazam. So yeah, it's totally hands down Shazam is my favorite.
Love it. Love the different list there, guys. And I'll give you guys mine here in a bit. Just want to read off a couple comments. We got some people that just joined the chat, like Ken from Mid-Level Media. Ron shared his list. My bad. Top 5: Wonder Woman, Shazam, Man of Steel, Suicide Squad. Fun watch along, y'all. Appreciate it. Glad you was able to swing by, Ron. Here's Alex's list: BVS number 1, Man of Steel 2, Aquaman, Wonder Woman. Love it. Do we have any other lists? Connor here. Connor coming in. What's going on, Connor? Number 1, my man. Aquaman at number 1, Wonder Woman at number 2, Man of Steel, Shazam, Birds of Prey number 5, BVS number 6. Okay, awesome. And then here we got Ken's list here. So he has Man of Steel, Wonder Woman, Birds of Prey, Aquaman. So yeah, man, it looks like everyone's list. It looks like mostly people's like top 3 is a little bit different, which I love. So I said it last week, and I'll go ahead and share my list with you all. With number 8, with Suicide Squad being my number 8, Justice League being number 7. I will say with Justice League, even though we know all the debacleness and all the craziness behind the scenes, there are a couple things I still enjoy about that film. Number 1, the Justice League versus Batman or versus Superman. I really do enjoy that scene, especially when Flash runs by him, and I just love that. And I still think with post-credit scenes, I think that movie has two of the best post-credit scenes, even almost on the same levels like Spider-Man Far From Home and the reveal and everything. But seeing Superman and Flash race is straight out of the comics, and I love that, just that scene in general. And then what the second scene was trying to set up a Justice League versus a league of their own, be it Deathstroke, Lex Luthor, whether it be Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor or not. I mean, the potential of that would have been insane. Unfortunately, we didn't get that. But
post-credit scene.
Yeah, those post-credit scenes were so great to me. But yeah, number 6 for me, Aquaman, I think is visually stunning. There are some character moments, acting moments that are just a little weaker to me, but I'm still excited for the future of Aquaman. But that's my number 6. Birds of Prey, number 5. Shazam, number 4 for me, just like Kristen said, Miss Flamingo, a fun family film, and that's what Shazam's all about the family and them coming together and seeing them at the end. And the future for that looks really great, especially with Black Adam. BVS is number 3 for me. I'm right there with you, Joe. I love BVS, as you know, when we did our watch along. I think the film is, again, I think people just aren't, again, with a lot of Zack Snyder films, whether it be Watchmen, whether it be, only films I think people really gravitated to when they first dropped was like 300 and maybe Dawn of the Dead, but everything else people takes like 3, 4, 5, 10 years to appreciate what he was trying to do. And I think BVS is going to be one of those films in 10 years. People are going to really appreciate what he was trying to say and do with that film. But number 2 is Man of Steel for me. Like you, Jaren, that is my Superman, and I don't like to use that phrase. Like, this is my character. Like, I don't like these characters, but like to me, that Henry Cavill version of Superman is kind of. I never grew up as a big Superman fan, so I just love that interpretation of the character. And Hans Zimmer's score in that is like my favorite score of all time. That just builds the movie within itself. So. Man of Steel is fantastic to me. But number 1 is Wonder Woman. I think, again, we talked about the comic book essence of the character. Patty Jenkins nailed what Wonder Woman is. She's a beacon of hope like Superman is in the comics, but I think she did such a great job of the fish out of the water story, a love story with Steve Trevor and Diana, and just everything that film has to offer. It's just such a great film. And I know people crap so much in the third act. It's not as bad as people make the third act to be. It's like a lot of really cool stuff within that third act, minus some of the CGI, stuff going on.
Yeah. I had a quick question, Elliot. Is Wonder Woman the film that you had the most fun with out of the DCEU?
Most fun with?
Yes. Were you like giddy in your seat?
I was in awe.
You're in awe. Okay.
It's weird. It depends on the film. Like if I go into a comedy, obviously I want to have fun, be entertained. But I was just in awe of the character because I literally love Wonder Woman. Like I think she's such a incredible character. And honestly, I think one of the best characters in the DC universe just in general. But I was just in awe of how she portrayed the character, and I was just so happy to see Gal Gadot make people eat crow. Because again, if you all remember, people were so down on her. Yeah. She's too skinny. She's only been in a couple films, and she just embodied. Like again, with Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Chris Evans as Cap, Heath Ledger as a Joker. There's Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I think that she was born to play Wonder Woman, and she to me like Wonder Woman in real life. So I just love. And then Patty Jenkins just. I hope we were talking about announcements for the DC fandom next week. Yeah. If there's any possibility that Patty Jenkins can direct Man of Steel 2,
that would be amazing.
She did with Wonder Woman.
I've never heard anybody say that before. I like that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Wonder Woman 3 and the Themyscira spinoff, but if she would do a Man of Steel film, which it was inspired, Wonder Woman was inspired by the original Superman film, so. I would love to see her maybe take on that character. That would be great in my opinion. Yeah. But that's our list, guys. You guys shared your list with us, which I appreciated. And just a couple more questions. Did you guys have maybe another 15 minutes, or anyone got to head out anytime soon?
No, I'm good.
Keep going.
Dylan.
I would love, and again, Joe, I think I know your answer, but and we talked about this last week. But this isn't a versus thing. I'm just curious on preference, and this is the same for the panel and everyone in the chat. Which one do you gravitate towards more? And that includes comics, movies, TV shows, video games. What is it about DC and Marvel, and which one do you, like I said, gravitate towards more?
Yeah. So I've always been more of a DC person in general. I think DC comics are to me better in the sense that I gravitate towards the more grounded, realistic, gritty story, so to speak. So when Zack Snyder took things in a darker direction, juxtaposed against Marvel, I like that because I think that's, I don't know, just kind of that's my preference, right? I think DC has had a better track record in TV. They've had more success, but when it comes to films, they're still trying to find their footing, and I hope that they're finally like on that path and getting there. Elliot, is one of your questions coming up about what's next?
Oh yeah, the future is going to be the last one. Yeah. Okay,
I'll hold that thought then. Sure. But Marvel movies are what they are. I really enjoy them. I think they're great. The storytelling is top notch, and if I could sit in a room with those writers just for 10 minutes, I would absolutely love that because I want to know how they put all that together. And then video games, I'm not really sure. I think DC was rocking them for a while with the Batman series. Mm-hmm. Spider-Man, when that came out for PlayStation, really seems like it took off and knocked a lot out of the water. But who knows? There's 2 big announcements coming next week at Fandome around video games. One is the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and the other one is probably another Batman Arkham game, unless it's Injustice 3. But video games, I think, are still up in the air.
Yeah. No, so we got one for, and again, this isn't a versus thing, it's more preference because we all know that these companies want the other company to do good because it means people still want these characters. They're still into comic books, so they're rooting for each other, even though there's a bit of a little fun rivalry there. But Sean, same question for you, man. Just again, if you want to do it like Joe, if you want to break it down, which, okay, I gravitate towards comics, but I love DC TV or I love Marvel movies, but just in general, which one do you find yourself being more gravitating towards and just overall thoughts of the 2 big Goliath companies?
Yeah, more coming from just the movie/TV aspect. I appreciate how DC, given even its kind of weird structure that the movies have been in, I appreciate more the continuity isn't the thing that we rely on as much as the MCU is, because I like being able to go into a movie and be able to just appreciate that movie for the movie and not have to worry about, I didn't watch this one episode of this one Marvel show and I don't know what's going on.
It's going to be that way pretty soon.
I know. And that's the one thing I dread. It's like, am I going to have enough time in the universe to watch all these movies plus 15 Marvel shows? It's like, no, it's fine. But in terms of characters, I've always been a DC guy. Like I've been Batman through and through. Batman has been my character, and one of my earliest film memories is seeing Batman Forever in theaters. So I've been a DC guy. I like a lot of the Marvel characters, but they haven't been in my life as much. I think Spider-Man and the X-Men are the 2 because of like the animated series. But DC and Batman were always kind of my number 1. So I think I'm going to give the edge to DC over Marvel.
Awesome, man. So we got two DC so far. Jaren, man, same question posed to you, man. And also just kind of thinking about we just thinking about where we are with the DCEU minus the Joker, 8 films into the franchise versus Marvel's 8 films. There was some bombs there with DC, but we also have, Thor 2 and Iron Man 2. There were some stinkers early on. So, I mean, I think even though they're kind of late to the party, they're kind of, in my weird brain, they're almost same trajectory as where Marvel was kind of going. If you look at the 9 films versus each other, I know you're making a face there, AJ. I'll take Man of Steel over Iron Man, first Iron Man, me personally. I'll take...
Agreed.
I'll take BVS over a Thor 2, a Thor 1 to start off the gate, just me personally. So I don't know.
I think the issue is that DC just jumped the gun a little bit when it comes to the big team-up film.
Being the second film out of the gate didn't work out for them, unfortunately. But yeah, not to take the Jaren, same question to you, man. Just gravitate towards which one do you kind of find yourself gravitating towards more?
I think I've always liked the characters in DC more than Marvel. I will say Spider-Man's my favorite superhero, but what they've done with the character as of late, I haven't been as big of a fan of it as like the Raimi trilogy per se. But I'd say the direction the franchises are going, overall I like the MCU a lot more because It's got a better structure. I feel like they've been more consistent. Yeah. And they have a lot of like the Avengers Endgames to where they know how to team up and make it work cohesively. But looking at the DCEU now, they're starting to find their footing. And if they continue to go down this route, I can easily find myself saying I like the DCEU more. Just I like the individualized stories. They are able to tell a story without connecting it to so many beforehand. That's one thing that I will say about the MCU is that while right now I prefer it, it kind of gets over formulaic at times. And you kind of, even when you're being told a new story, you kind of know what to expect because they all run off this same like plot structure. I don't know. I feel like there's some independence when it comes to DC movies and the characters. So yeah, it's really hard to say. Right now, I'd probably give the edge to Marvel, but there's so many things I love about DC as well. DC is definitely winning in TV shows, like you said. I don't remember an amazing Marvel TV show. People will say, I'm sure, argue Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I haven't been like a huge fan of that or anything. The only
I don't know who's going to argue that.
Really, I don't. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think
the only Marvel
argue.
TV show that I actually like was Spectacular Spider-Man. But other than that, I haven't been a fan of anything from them TV wise. Video games, I'm not really a video game guy. Haven't read enough comics, but yeah, that's where I'd say my stance is.
Awesome, man. I love it. And some, if there are any recommendations for the Marvel, just showing a little bit of Marvel TV love, Daredevil, Punisher, those shows on Netflix were like, like top tier TV shows in my opinion. But then you have Inhumans and you have, I never got into Runaways. I heard great things about Runaways on, was it Freeform when it was on, but yeah, there are some.
It was on Hulu. It's a Hulu.
It was on Hulu.
Yeah, Runaways was not good.
Yeah,
really.
It was Dagger and stuff like that.
I didn't care for it. I can say that I didn't care for it.
Gotcha. Well, hey, your turn, AJ. I know we talked about it last week.
I know, and I honestly kind of changed my mind a little bit. I love DC. Like, I really do. I really enjoy the characters. The villains are way more interesting than Marvel's villains, in my opinion. I just feel like there's so much more depth to the characters than what, Marvel has given us. But I would say I would take the MCU over DCEU as of now, but that, like you said, that's not really that fair because there's only 8 films in the DCEU, so it's kind of hard to compare them at that level. I do like, you did bring up a point. I will say that I enjoy the MCU's first 8 films over DCEU's first 8 films, but that's that. But I will say, I'm really into like the DC TV shows. Like, I don't care what anybody says. I enjoy the CW shows. Some of them, not all of them.
They had me for a bit, but man, it is so rough to keep up with those.
Sean said it best with what could happen with Marvel. It's like, how do you have the time to keep up with all that with the number of CW shows that then were over?
There's so many CW shows, but The Flash, I love The Flash. Grant Gustin.
I did.
It did get a little it gets a little much at times, but I don't know. I feel like I spend more time on DC, so how can I say that I like Marvel more if I spend more time with DC? You know what I'm saying? So but like you said, I really enjoy the Marvel Netflix shows as well. I actually caught up with all of them, watched all of them, and I enjoy them a lot. And surprisingly, I love Punisher, so I don't know.
If I'm not mistaken, I know it was like almost 2 years ago, but that was pretty well regarded. Like, I remember people really I loved it.
Oh, really?
For sure.
Really? Okay, yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it was pretty well received, if I'm not mistaken, when it was out a couple years ago.
Yeah, I really enjoy the Marvel Netflix shows, but I'm interested to see what Marvel's gonna do with Disney Plus shows. The future of the Disney Plus shows. I am.
Yeah. No, I think obviously the films are what their main focus is, but low key TV, as we kind of know in the pandemic, has been the saving grace of entertainment. So
right,
TV is
right.
kind of their focus too moving forward, because who knows what's going to be of next year, the next few years. But
so I might say DC. I might say it. I know that's different than what I said last week, but
hey, man,
I'm gonna say DC.
I love it, man. Join the DC is where it's at. But Miss Flamingo, same question for you regarding just gravitating towards certain, company more than the others. Which one do you prefer more for TV world versus movie world versus comics and just, I don't know, merch? Who has a better merch too? It all encompasses everything.
Okay, so speaking of merch, I'll go for the Marvel stuff because I have more of that. So speaking of merch, but other than that, let's see. I can't talk about the video games because I really haven't played any of them. Comics, I can't really say either because I'm not really a big comic book person either. But in terms of television shows, I did enjoy what Netflix did, especially with Jessica Jones. I really enjoyed the detective
really great
series of Jessica Jones, especially the first season. That first season had
awesome. Yeah.
And let's see, I can't really say much about the DCEU shows. I never really gravitated towards them. I did watch The Flash for the first season, and then I just never really got to going back to it. I did like Grant Gustin. You're not wrong. I enjoy him. Watched him on Glee.
Oh, he was on Glee. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, he was, and so was Supergirl.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
So was Elizabeth Noyce.
Yeah.
Gotta love that musical episode that they did. I didn't see it, but I saw some of the clips.
Yeah.
But
it was something else.
Something else for sure.
It was something else.
But on a serious note, I'm excited for what Marvel has in store for their TV shows, including Loki, WandaVision, and what is it?
Falcon Winter
Soldier. And then, Winter Soldier is the one I'm really anticipating. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do for that. But other than that, like AJ just said, and Elliot, what you said, it's hard to judge them because, DC only has 8 films. I mean, look how many, I can say how many great Marvel films are. But depending on where, Marvel goes, like in their phase 4, given the fact we all haven't seen Eternals yet or whatever's set to be out next.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about it. I felt pretty satisfied with the conclusion of what they did with, with whatchamacallit, Endgame. So I don't know, if I'm really, set for, more Marvel movies just yet. But, I'm kind of like what's, DC's doing. I'm still, up in the air. I'm really excited about Wonder Woman 2. I'm really excited that 1984 looks killer. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for, Batman and Robert Pattinson's, version and the Matt Reeves.
Hold that. We're gonna get into the future here in a bit.
Okay. But yes, I'm excited for the future for that. But but for now, I'm gonna say I'm a Marvel girl because I grew up also with Spider-Man. Spider-Man's my homeboy.
Hey.
All right, so we got Joe with DC, Sean DC, Jaren DC. We got Marvel with the last 2 here with AJ and Kristen.
I said DC. I said DC.
I'm the only one.
The only Marvel, and I'm sorry to have Jaren said Marvel. He did some. Yeah, you're right.
I was just kind of up in the air. I could pick either. I don't know.
Either or.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So
I can pick either or too.
I'm gonna go this, and I love Marvel. I love Spider-Man. I grew up Spider-Man, X-Men. Can't wait to see how they're gonna introduce them and Fantastic Four. But for me, man, it's the DC. The characters just in general. We're dealing with gods. We're dealing with Wonder Woman and Superman and Black Adam and just the mystical aspects and can't wait to what we get with the JSA coming up in that. But it's just the characters that speak to me more. And comics, the same thing. TV, I think DC TV just blows Marvel out of the water. Whether it be when I did watch the DC films, DC shows, AJ, I love the first 3 episodes of Arrow. With him and Deathstroke, I think is one of their best seasons of TV on any CW show.
Oh, this first 3 seasons
of Arrow, with him.
You said first 3 episodes. Sounds like
first 3 seasons when he dealt with Tommy's dad. I can't think of the Archer character in season 1. Then we get Deathstroke, and then I think season 3. Whenever Ra's al Ghul got into the mix and the Labyrinth Pit, that's when I kind of checked out of Arrow.
I think it fell off a little bit around that time, and then it kind of picked back up. But if you left it, at that time, I mean, I see why you did.
Yeah,
I see why you did.
In the Flash, man, I will always praise the first 2 seasons of Flash. Reverse Flash is one of my favorite like villains in the DC, so that was already had me. And then Dr. Zoom with Earbon Thorne, I love that character. But then it got, we got Gorilla Grodd and all that. That stuff was cool. But it just got too repetitive, man. It's just like how many times King Shark, how many times is Barry gonna mess up the timeline, man? It's like, Barry, can you not learn your lessons going back in time? It's just, I don't know. It's just, and Grant Gustin, we all know that.
I mean, Grant Gustin can do no wrong.
He can do no wrong, yeah. We all know that. But I think, DC TV, Doom Patrol being one of them is a great TV show. And there's so many other great things they've done. And I'm excited for what the future holds for them as far as TV. But yeah, and then also video games. Batman video games to me are just so great. All the Arkham games are just phenomenal, even though I love Spider-Man game and a couple other, the Ultimate Avengers games and all that. But yeah, DC video games. So it's DC for me. But I'm still a big fan of Marvel, nevertheless. But and yeah, we got our Grant Gustin chant here. Question here: what would be your first 9 DCEU films in Phase 1? What would be? So I don't know if this is splitting them up in what would we consider a Phase 1. I don't know what that question.
I think what he's asking is like, how would we structure it to be better?
Yep. Oh, okay. Gotcha. So this is a great question. If you want to start off, if you were, Jeff Johns, or if you were the CEO during the time of 2013, how would you have structured the DCEU? And I'll pull up that list here too, so we can kind of know what those films were. But how would you have started things off?
I mean, I think it's going to be hard not to try to replicate how Phase 1 was for Marvel in this conversation, but the whole thing would be building up to a Justice League team up at the end of, or maybe that's the 9th film or the 10th film, right? Yeah. So I think that it would be, you want to have a Man of Steel, or a Superman, you want to have a Batman film, you want to have a solo Wonder Woman, Aquaman, The Flash. I even would throw in a Green Lantern film, and I also would throw in sequels of for Batman and Superman as well. I think you want to get 2 of them in, get them settled, because they are the big properties. They are the biggest ones. That doesn't mean the other characters can't then appear in them. But you really want to lay the groundwork and get the investment in the individuals before you throw them all together and ask people to care about all of them.
You pretty much took the words. I mean, does anyone on the panel like the way that the films, and nothing if you do, I'm just curious, does anyone like the way that the stories have been told, or do you guys pretty much agree with Joe as far as individual films leading up to a build-up?
I think what he said is perfect.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah,
agreed.
Totally.
Yeah, totally.
Great question. Great question there, man. But last question for the panel and for everyone that's still watching. Again, if you're watching replay, thank you so much for watching this. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to everyone's channel. I know they would really appreciate that. But last question for everyone here is the future. We all know, and me and Joe, we're talking about behind the scenes, doing some videos to cover it next week. It's a big week. This is a Super Bowl week for DC fans. This is a make or break week for DC, because they have announced films before, did not pan out. They've been throwing stuff on the wall, some hits, some misses, but DC Fandome is a make or break scenario for DC next week. So starting with you, Joe, the future of the DCEU, man, and I'll bring up the list of films that have been kind of confirmed so far in this next phase, if we want to call it that, for the DC. But the future, man, movies, TV, where is it at?
What you have going on with the films is they're doubling down on what worked already. You have another Wonder Woman, you have another Shazam, you have another Aquaman. Suicide Squad being the outcast there, they're going to try to rework that, because I think they really believe in those characters, which great. I think every strong comic property needs some of the more minor characters that you can play with and throw in. And then the Batman, of course, they're always going to play with Batman. I like the different take here. Where are they going in general? I think if you look at the schedule for DC Fandome next week, there's something very early on that is telling. And there is a session on introducing the multiverse, or explaining the multiverse. Mm-hmm. And with the return of the Justice League Snyder Cut next year, with seeing that, with the talk of Batman, Ben Affleck's Batman coming into play, with a Green Lantern show supposedly coming for DC Universe, not DC Universe, sorry, HBO Max.
HBO Max. Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to play into this multiverse. And, again, with Michael Keaton coming back as well.
Yeah.
One of the films I think we're going to hear next week is probably a Batman Beyond that's going to be thrown in there. That was apparently the sticking point for Michael Keaton coming back for The Flash. But people have been asking for that for a while. So that's a little bit of fan service, but it's also kind of exciting for them to go that direction because it was one of their most popular comics.
Right.
The Flash is what's going to open everything up.
That's a big one. Yeah.
That's a huge film that they have to get right. They're doubling down on Ezra Miller with the fact that he's going to be at Fandome next week, so that goes to show that they're okay with choking people out and throwing them down. But,
he knows magic.
Low blow.
And he's a wrestler apparently, so he's.
They just need to get Grant Gustin in there, to replace Ezra Miller.
And that's
my gosh!
Did you guys see the thing where they crossed that clip?
That's why they shouldn't bring Grant Gustin.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking.
He's been successful in the show. They've introduced, and that was actually one of the first parts, right? They had that crossover that was unexpected with Ezra Miller coming onto the show, and was that Crisis on Infinite Earths?
Yeah.
So you're showing the existence of the multiverse. That's how they're going to explain all these shots all over the place, right? I could see them doing, if they want to bring in another Joker or go the route with Joaquin Phoenix, if they actually bring him into DCEU, I don't know what they'll do. We were talking about Harley Quinn earlier in Joker. That's a way they could do it. It could be a Joker from another Earth, and she falls for him because you know how Harley is, right? So that's what I think they're going to do. Bold take here also is that I don't know that the Snyder Cut is a one and done thing. I do believe that there is a potential for them to see how it performs. They've thrown a lot of money at it, and I see a potential for maybe them finishing out that story with the multiverse as their as the backing for that, and then leading towards another Justice League down the road that maybe brings in R-Pats, that maybe brings in whoever they have for Green Lantern. There is a Green Lantern that's going to be in the Snyder Cut, whether it's that Green Lantern that they roll with in the future that was cast, or whether they bring Ryan Reynolds back. So that's a lot of stuff I'm throwing at the wall. Just call me DC, but I do think that I'm actually really excited for where they're going, and like Elliot said, I think next Saturday is going to tell a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, it's a big one. Zack Snyder, I think I love the guy, man, but I think they just need to put that to rest. If I'm being honest with you, man, that would be, because the thing I think about is the average moviegoer, the confusion being there and all that. But we'll see. We're less than a week away. But Sean, man, Go ahead.
I keep cutting Sean off. Can I throw one other thing in there real quick, though? I think the other thing that's going towards Zack Snyder being sort of the shepherd of the MCU, the DCEU again, is what you see happening with the allegations against Jeff Johns and Joss Whedon as the main one.
Mm-hmm.
But Joss was going to be doing a movie in the DCEU for a while, and well, not even for a while, but he's not, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Ray Fisher has been, throwing some stuff, and I forgot to mention him earlier. I would have done the Cyborg movie as well. That was planned originally.
Yeah.
But I think they're in need of someone to come in and take over and shepherd things forward. Should it be Zack Snyder? No. Should it be a team that maybe includes Zack Snyder? Sure. Because there's a lot of stuff in the works that just got pushed aside when it didn't make the money it should have. They wanted it to. So
yeah.
And that's that on that. Goodbye.
Well said, my friend. Well said. Sean, man, same question for you, man, regarding DC Fandome, excitement level. Are you looking forward to it? And then just the future of the DC, man. Like Joe said, do you want to see a Kevin Feige type of character? Do you want to see maybe what Star Wars is doing, Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, kind of a team, of creatives to handle these iconic characters?
I think the biggest thing that they need to figure out is some form of structure. Whether it be a Kevin Feige type, or if it's, you know, a Zack Snyder plus 2 or 3 more people, they have to decide one way or another, this is the direction where we're going to go. And it's kind of like how the MCU initially started out when it went from Universal going into Marvel and Disney, and how they kind of transitioned into that. And really where the turning point was the start of phase 2 for the MCU, and how they figured it out. And by the end of phase 2 going into phase 3, that's where they hit their wheelhouse with all of the great films that the MCU is able to put out at the end of the line. So, you know, looking at the releases that are coming out now they're looking at the MCU approach of, we're going to put out 2 to 3 a year and just kind of see what works. And they're going with the characters that they know they work, starting with Wonder Woman 84. That's going to be the big one, going into the Batman and then the Flash. Like, how are they going to be able to structure it for the far distant future? I don't want to see a Justice League film until, beside the Snyder Cut, till like 2024. Like, get your bases in check with all of the characters that you want to develop, and then do a Justice League, or maybe do an Injustice. Like, I think that would be really cool idea too. But get the structure in place first, know what you want to do, and then go from there. You have your fan base. You have your diehards that are going to go and see Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. They're going to be there, but you have to bring in the casual audience with the structure. And once they get that, then, you know, all bets are off that this could be actually something that they could dig out of the grave and create something that's really cool.
Sean, you brought up Injustice, and the other thing that we haven't mentioned is that J.J. Abrams is developing Justice League Dark and some other properties for HBO Max. So there's some other stuff in play there too, and there's a whole other conversation with J.J. Abrams' involvement, but you know, something else that's going on.
No doubt. No, it's and I'm trying to bring up the kind of Fandome schedule, because I think Joe hit it on the head regarding just kind of the structuring of their announcements. Right, you come out swinging with Wonder Woman. You know, I think critically speaking, it's the most successful film. It's the highest, you know, not that Rotten Tomatoes is make or break, but it's the most highly rated film of the DCEU thus far. So you hit the gate there, and then, you know, you sprinkle in a Flash later on down the road. You sprinkle in the Suicide Squad, and then you kind of get that momentum again with the Shazam 2 and Aquaman 2, and then you finish things off with Batman. So it's going to be a fun week that I'm really looking forward to. But where am I at with the panel here? Miss Flamingo, if you want to let us know your thoughts on the DCEU in the future, and if it's bright or dark and gloomy.
Ooh, I actually see it's kind of bright. I mean, knowing what we had recently, and like I said earlier, I kind of like where they're going, kind of. So I'm excited to see what, you know, we got in store for, you know, Wonder Woman and, you know, Batman. I'm really excited for that Batman more than anything right now. Out of all those films, that's going to be, I think, really, really awesome. It's going to set them off. I'm excited what they're going to do for the TV shows. So maybe this even actually goes to back where we were talking about. Maybe am I more of a DC fan or a Marvel fan? Maybe this, you know, potential that they got going on is going to turn me into a DC fan now. So, you know, it looks pretty promising here. So I'm even, I'll even say it, I'll watch the Snyder Cut. You know, is it necessary? No, but I'm curious to see what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
You know?
We don't just shoot people like that in the middle of a answer, you know. Is it necessary? How dare you?
Love it. But yeah, AJ, man, looking at this DC Fandome schedule next week, just your overall thoughts on the future of DC. Again, I think another big one that that Joe kind of alluded to. So right after Black Adam, you have an unannounced film.
Yeah.
Man of Steel, Green Lantern,
Ooh, yeah.
March from the Manhunter. I mean, the possibilities are just endless, right? But just kind of your thoughts, man.
Well, I mean, I think it can really only go up from here, in my opinion. I think it's just, I think DC has been, they've been struggling a little bit in the past with their films, and like we said earlier, I think they really need to slow it down. They need to kind of take a page out of Marvel's book with their films and kind of like flush out their characters, flush out their storylines, make sure, you know, we're we're getting everything that we need before these big team up films. So yeah, I'm really excited for Fandome. I'm excited for Black Adam, Flash, Shazam, and I'm already excited for Wonder Woman. I've been excited for that, but I'm just excited for a lot of these announcements that are going to be made, and hopefully they start heading in the right direction.
That's the hope, man. That's the hope. Jaren, man, just your thoughts on this the slate of announcements next week, these panels next week. Are you excited for Fandome? And just your overall thoughts on the future of the DCEU?
I'm very excited for Fandome. I'm really rooting for DC. I agree with what everybody said. I really hope that this is them finally coming into their own. I think that they are. I think their films as of late, they're finally discovering what works for them and setting themselves apart. And I think that this is really going to just show all that they have to offer. I hope that this whole multiverse thing, I hope that happens and it's done well. I think that's a great way to add some sort of structure to it, and it kind of puts everything that they're coming out with in its own place. Because I feel like there's a lot of stuff. It's all over the place right now. It's kind of jumbled, but this will be a great way to kind of sort everything out. When it comes to that to be announced film, I have a feeling it's going to be Green Lantern, but I'm not sure. That's just my guess.
That's just interesting because didn't they announce a Green Lantern TV show on HBO Max?
Yeah,
I don't know if they're
Greg Berlanti's running that ship. Yeah.
But a while ago, they had also announced that they were developing a Green Lantern corpse movie.
Yeah, buddy cop.
I didn't realize that.
But that got kind of like, we haven't heard that in like a year and a half.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I am extremely hopeful for what's to come. And like I said, I think my opinion could really start to sway more towards the DC route over Marvel if they continue to bring us some quality stuff. Yeah. And I don't know. I'm really excited for a Fandome.
Awesome, man. Yeah, it's a lot of great stuff coming for the future of this. Just kind of my 2 cents on this. Yeah, the future's looking bright. DC Fandome is going to be awesome. I'm saying it now. It's going to blow. It's going to break the internet. Literally break the internet. We're going to get some great announcements. Starting off with Wonder Woman. I think even though I don't want it, I think they're going to do it. They're going to reveal Cheetah, Kristen. As Cheetah. Yeah, Kristen Wiig as Cheetah. I think they're going to give us a little hint of that and see more of the eagle armor with Wonder Woman and all that good stuff. So I think we're going to get that reveal. And, they're going to keep, obviously, close to the chest, Steve Trevor's return. But, yeah, I expect Cheetah next week. Aquaman 2, James Gunn said it the other day. It's going to be a little bit more horror elements, just like we got from The Trench. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him being the king of Atlantis and Black Manta being the main villain with Yahya Abdin Mateen II. I think he's going to be great. Come the second one. Obviously, none of these films have been, they haven't started production, so we're going to probably get concept art and maybe a casting announcement with Aquaman 2. Shazam 2, I think the same thing. We're going to get a villain announcement. And maybe a little bit of an idea where they're going to go with the sequel. And then The Flash, like Joe said, I think that's the clean slate film, right? That's supposed to potentially wipe out the Snyderverse, allegedly. We'll see. I don't know what a successful Justice League film would look like on the HBO Max. Is it a matter of tripling your subscribers? Is that the telling, or is it ratings being really high and reviews being high? But I think that's another big panel. Seeing Justice League's panel is going to be pretty cool to see that, the first teaser or trailer or whatever we're going to get next week. So that'll be exciting. But yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. But for me, besides Wonder Woman and Flash, 2 of the more, and also that unannounced film, which I pray that is Man of Steel 2. Hopefully we get that announcement.
Oh yeah.
But the 2 things for me is Black Adam. I am number one, I'm like the world's biggest Rock fan. Grew up with him in wrestling, so I've always rooted for him, and I think he's been championing this character for like literally a decade. This is like the same way Ryan Reynolds loves Deadpool is the same enthusiasm Rock has for Black Adam. And I'm telling you guys now, Black Adam could be one of the best superhero movies ever made if done properly. The stuff I love about the fighting in the sky that we got with Man of Steel, like literally Black Adam is Man of Steel power levels, and bringing in the Justice Society of America with Adam, with Hawkgirl, Hawkman, and just all of that mythology and lore, and no disrespect to Zachary Levi, he doesn't need a padded suit. He fits the suit. He is a
Very
superhero
true.
in life. He's been a superhero his whole career. He just hasn't been one technically. So now he gets a chance to actually be a superhero, or anti-hero, we should say. And I am just so excited for Black Adam. But the number one thing for me is the Batman. Again, number one, I love Batman. He's my favorite superhero. I was on board when I heard Robert Pattinson. My mind didn't go to Twilight. It went to, High Life. It went to, Lighthouse. It went to, all those films that we've gotten good times. I mean, it went to those films for me personally. So when they said he's going to be Batman, I'm like, oh, he's going to be an incredible Bruce Wayne, number one. For sure. And then the detective noir type of approach that they've been saying, Paul Dano as the Riddler, Jeffrey Wright as, Commissioner Gordon, Zoe Kravitz. I like her as an actress. I don't know if you guys watch High Fidelity. I think she really kind of flexed her acting muscles in that show. And obviously Big Little Lies, she had a presence on that show. So I'm a big fan of Zoe. I think she's going to kill it as Catwoman. And then again, Colin Farrell, and the cast is ridiculous. Andy Serkis as Alfred. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So that panel I'm really looking forward to. And I'm really excited for Batman, guys. But so the future's looking bright. I'm really excited for it. And it's going to be only great competition for DC and Marvel, because I think DC or Marvel right now is playing a little bit of a reset button with Shang-Chi and Eternals. But this is the time for Marvel or DC to kind of get in there in that conversation for excitement for people. So it's going to be great. It's going to be great. At least I hope it's going to be great. That's the hope.
I had a quick question.
Fingers crossed.
I had a quick question. Do we feel like Cheetah was cast correctly with Kristen Wiig, or do we like that, or do we hate it, or what are we thinking?
I'm up in the air.
Same
I'm
here.
up in the air. I can't say for it yet because I haven't seen the character yet. I mean, I'm interested. I'm surprised about the casting choice, but still up in the air.
I mean, to the panel, if everyone, Joe, if you want to go ahead and throw your 2 cents in her casting.
Yeah, I'm kind of into it because they had a weird. Cheetah's a weird character, and the relationship with Diana with Wonder Woman is weird in the comics as it is. And I think that when you want to play weird, you bring in someone that can play weird. And I think Kristen Wiig plays weird very well in a good way. I mean that with the utmost respect, because I think she's a lot of fun. I love her as an actress. So it was completely out of the box. But I think it's going to be really. It's gonna hinge on the transformation of what we see in the trailer with like nerdy Kristen Wiig to like vindictive villain that we're expecting. So,
What about you, Sean?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely wait and see. Like, I want to see what the finished product is before I be like, oh, this is terrible. I think she's been doing some really good work outside of SNL. So I think, I can't think of anybody that I would have preferred. So, I don't see why she wouldn't do well in it.
No doubt. Jaren, what about you? Christmas, her casting.
Yeah, I just have to wait, see how it plays out. I'm not going to make any judgments because I don't know too much about the character in the first place. Hearing that she's like a weird character makes sense that they would cast somebody like Kristen Wiig, because I was going to say at first, just hearing that, it's kind of weird because she's very goofy and over the top. But if that's the nature of the character, I guess that's a pretty good pick. I hope it's not like overly cheesy, but if it fits the story they're trying to tell, I'm all for it.
Yeah, no doubt. Miss Flamingo, what do you think about the casting?
I'm kind of with Jaren. I can't totally say because I'm not familiar with Cheetah herself, but if she is that weird character, has a weird relationship with Wonder Woman, then maybe they picked the right casting for Kristen Wiig. I feel like given how all the characters she played on like Saturday Night Live, if it fits her, if that's the case.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see it. Curious most of all. But, I can't really say, if it was good casting or not.
No doubt. What about you, AJ? Did you are you excited for it, man?
I'm nervous because I think Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman, just had such an essence, and like, I'm not saying that Kristen Wiig is not classy, but like it had such a class to it that didn't feel like silly or goofy or anything like that. So adding Kristen Wiig to the cast, I'm just a little skeptical, but it could be good. It could be good. I'm not saying that it's going to be terrible or anything, but Kristen Wiig, I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about her as an actress either. Like in film, like SNL, she did great. She was, great with improv and things like that. But like as an actress in film, I don't know. So we'll just wait and see.
Yeah, that's all we can do, right? Because we haven't gotten, other than the little back and forth that we got in the first trailer with a little bit of our comedy with Diana, and I get a lot of points for all that stuff. But in Patty, I trust. So the female,
and I feel like maybe Wonder Woman might need that a little bit. Because it is kind of she's kind of serious, and I think maybe some comic relief might help. But just don't make it overly silly, overly goofy, because that's just my take.
I'm like I said, in Patty I trust, again, whether it be her relationship with Charlize Theron and Monster, whether it be obviously Gal Gadot with Wonder Woman. I think she casts great for her movies, and I've always been a fan of comedic actors, as we see Jordan Peele, John Krasinski, Jim Carrey, Eddie Murphy, the list goes on. Bill Murray, you can name them. They have a dark side. They always have some hinge of craziness, kind of psychological stuff going on that they can get to those levels. And we haven't seen it yet from Kristen Wiig. I know she's been in some other films. The only film I can think of where it was a very small role, but Mother, when she was the
yes, that's what I was thinking about.
It's amazing.
Very small role, but it wasn't a goofy role. She was being serious, right? So there's something there. And Cheetah, there's a reason why she's a villain, because she's a pretty badass villain. Like, she can take on Wonder Woman, like hand-to-hand combat. Like, and I think that's why Wonder Woman has that golden armor, because I think she's gonna get her, by all no disrespect, Diana, I love you, Wonder Woman, but she's gonna get her ass kicked when she first. Like, tell me that Cheetah is a badass villain. Like, her plot, tribal nature of that character is like very, very menacing, to say the least. So I think Kristen Stewart can do that. I hope the visuals, again, and Patty, I trust the visuals are going to be great, but you guys are going to be in for a treat when you see Cheetah done right on the big screen. And like I said, Patty Jenkins has yet to prove me wrong that she can bring a great character to the big screen. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I really hope she can do that. Yeah.
So, man, I think we covered it all, guys. A little comment here from Nick. I like to see a similar Paul. Yeah, it was odd at first. I mean, there's so many. I mean, again, within the DC universe itself, Michael Keaton as Batman was odd during that time. Obviously Heath Ledger as a Joker. I mean, there's been so many examples when people just like, I don't know, and then they end up blowing it out of the water. So I always think.
And then we got our Jesse Eisenbergs.
And then we.
I'm joking.
Back around. No, man, I love it, man. But guys, it's been almost 3 hours. It's been a fantastic time. I love doing these every week with the people that we have on, the conversations we have. So I can't thank you guys enough for the time you've given me tonight on this stream. Hope you guys had as much fun as I did. But wrapping this up, starting with Joe, Guy at the Movies, talk about the film festival, what's to come soon. I got your message. I'll go ahead and put that in a little bit. But if you want to just let the people know where they can find you and what to expect and all that good stuff, man.
Yeah, guys, Guy at the Movies on Instagram, Guy at the Movies 1 on Twitter, and guyatthemovies.com for all the latest movie news, which comes in spurts. Like, you'll get one day where we get a ton of news dropped, and then you won't hear anything for another 2 or 3 days. So it's few and far between in terms of the stories. But the biggest thing is the extremely long name festival that I created. It's the first ever Guy at the Movies virtual film festival that runs August 28th through the 30th. It is completely free, completely online. A ton of your favorite people from Instagram and YouTube will be involved. There's anything from programs that are focused on specific topics, such as creating desirable content, dealing with toxic fandoms, finding your voice as a critic, a bunch of things like that. There's a bunch of watch-alongs, so the films were just announced the past couple of days. There's also some great guests that will be popping on. So the director of Night Hunter, which actually starred Henry Cavill, and Alexandra Daddario, he'll be on for a Q&A after we do a watch-along of the film. And then there's also a couple other filmmakers, one of an upcoming movie called Corona, which is it was recently filmed. And of course, that's going to be very timely and interesting and deals with xenophobia in the time of Corona. We also have I don't know if anyone is a RuPaul's Drag Race fan, but we have Nina West, who is a very popular drag queen on there, but she, and his name's Andrew in real life, but Andrew voiced a character in a short called Coaster. We'll watch the short. We'll talk with Andrew / Nina West, as well as one of the filmmakers behind it, who is a Disney animator. So that's pretty fun as well. And then we have 2 filmmakers that created a short for it's called Shadow of the Mandalorian. So that will be happening. So a whole lot of stuff going on that weekend. The last part is that we'll have, in addition to the watch alongs and all that, there'll be live podcast recordings. About 5 different podcasts will be recording that weekend. So the full schedule comes out on Monday once everything is completely finalized. But it started out as a very small idea and has blossomed into a very stressful weekend for me, but it will be a lot of fun. So would love to see everyone there. I'm going to put the registration link in the chat. What that basically does is just ensures that you'll get the daily emails with the direct links to where we're going. Most of it will be on YouTube, but a few of them, the watch parties, which are just chat-based, will be on a Chrome extension called Scener that is really fun and really cool. So we'll make sure that you know where you're going so you can hang with everyone that weekend. But hope to see you there.
Yeah, guys, it's going to be a lot of fun. So like Joe said, register, follow him on Instagram to get more details. It is less than 2 weeks away, so it's going to be a fun time. So Miss Flamingo, so glad I was able to get you on tonight. Thank you so much for joining the panel. If you want to let the people know where they can find you, what's next on the podcast, all that great stuff.
Yeah, of course. Thanks again for having me, Elliot. It was great to see everyone. Well, again, you can follow me on Instagram at Miss Filmingo and on Twitter at KFilmingo. You can also catch me on the Mac Movie Reviews podcast. And this week we're recording with Reviews with Jules. She's got a great Instagram page who gives like fun, like, you know, how to perfect your film, lots of film advice, and also gives really, really great reviews. Catch her also on YouTube. And Mac and I are just going to have a really great conversation with her. And you can also catch upcoming reviews of the films Magic Camp, Work It, as well as Spree. So don't have a film festival to promote, but I can't wait to watch Guys Film Festival. So otherwise, thanks, Elliot, for having me. Hope to see you guys on my Instagram page soon.
Most definitely. Like I said, guys, make sure you're supporting these great content creators. Subscribe, follow them. They got a lot of great stuff to put out there in the world. So, yeah, man, Sean, like I said, man, most of our watch alongs have been horror films, so it was good to kind of switch it up for a superhero movie, man. But glad you was able to join us tonight. But again, let the people know where they can find you. What can we expect from a Moviebirb next?
Yeah. So follow me on Instagram at Moviebirb, where I have some reviews and TV retrospectives. And recently I've been diving into director biographies and rising young actors and actresses. So tomorrow I'm going to be covering the brief but spectacular career so far of Storm Reed. So that's going to be really fun. And yeah, I have my fantasy film watch that I'm doing for the month of August. Tomorrow I'll be doing my first Harry Potter post. And then I got a couple big things coming in September, and one of which is I'm finally going to bite the bullet and do a review and post on my 100 favorite films of all time. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, follow me at Moviebirb, and I'm really excited for the film festival you guys are going to be doing, and yeah, excited for the next watch along.
Very cool, man. Yeah, look forward to that list, man. I always love people's top 10s, top 100s, especially when it comes to film. So very exciting stuff, man. And thank you again for joining us tonight. And then the newcomer on the panel, Jaren, man. Again, I'm glad HBO was able to put out Birds of Prey right in the nick of time, man. I'm glad you were able to see Mary Elizabeth Winstead again tonight. I know highlights, so that's always great, man. But no, man, it is a pleasure, man. I'm like I said, I'm a big fan of your content. So glad you were able to join us tonight. But where you at, what's next, all that great stuff, man.
Yeah, first off, I want to say thank you for having me on. Yeah, this is my first time on your channel, first time actually meeting all of you guys. So it's been a ton of fun. I can't wait to do more. I've been taking notes because I'm trying to start hosting more watch alongs on my channel, but I haven't had like the best structure. So I've definitely been analyzing how you do it over here, how you run everything. But for where you can find me on YouTube, Jaren Talks Movies, Instagram, Jaren Talks Movies. You can find me on Twitter at Jaren Williams 14. What's coming up on my channel? I've got a lot of new releases coming, reviews of new releases. I've got some pretty awesome rankings. I'm also going back through and reviewing the MCU. After seeing Birds of Prey again, I might start reviewing each of the DCEU movies individually because I'm kind of in the mood to go back and rewatch all those again. But yeah, I've got a lot of pretty fun stuff coming, so make sure to check that out. And also, really looking forward to the Guy at the Movies Film Festival.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'm excited to revisiting those DC films. That'll be fun, man. I'm excited to see what reviews come out of that, and obviously all the great stuff you have on your channel, man. But yeah, glad you was able to join us tonight. And again, the man has been literally on a hot streak with watch-alongs this last 2 weeks or so. AJ, man, glad you was able to join us tonight, man. Again, where the people can find you, what can we expect in September, which I know is a big month for your channel. But yeah, man, take it away.
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to say thank you, Elliot, for allowing me to come back again for another watch along. It has been a blast. You're an awesome host, man. Also, where you can find me is YouTube. I do things on YouTube mostly. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and I do all my movie reviews on Letterboxd. AJREACTS 2 all across the board. And yeah, all one word. So as far as what's coming up on my channel, like I said earlier in the stream, September is collab month. So I'm going to have a lot of different YouTubers on, and we're just going to be doing all kinds of rankings and tier lists and talking about film, movies, or film, TV, and all kinds of good stuff. So yeah, come check me out.
Awesome, man. Yeah, it's going to be, he obviously still time in this month. He's going to still drop some videos in August, but I know September's going to be a great month. So looking forward to it. But again, guys, it's been an awesome night as far as, what to expect here at Movie Files. Of course, your movie reviews, TV reviews. I might as well put it on the screen now. Tomorrow, Lovecraft Country. I have the first 5 episodes. I watched the first episode the other day. And for my horror sci-fi fans, you are in for a treat. I think this is going to be a very special show, and I'm excited for everyone to check it out. But expect that review tomorrow on its premiere. And then next week, we have Q&A, AMA, Ask Me Anything, kind of a recap of the DC fandom next Sunday at around 3 p.m., which AJ will be on there. So excited to have him on the channel again. But that is what's the next live stream that will be on the channel. And then bringing this up here, Joe kind of alluded to it. I will be a part of this is a Guy at the Movies Festival, doing a watch along for Extraction and having a cool panel. But next week, as we kind of talked about tonight, we do have the DC Fandome, and me and Joe will be partnering up and covering some stuff on his channel and kind of talking about all the different panels. We're going to do like a pre-show, kind of what we hope to see and everything on nature. And then at 9 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to recap all hopefully the great announcements that we're going to get from DC next week. So that will be very fun. Follow us on our social media accounts so you guys can keep it up with all that great coverage there. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another movie night at Movie Files, Birds of Prey. We all seem to really enjoy it. We talked about the DC future. So if you're watching this on the replay, I hope you all enjoyed this. Leave your comments in the comment section. Again, throw a thumbs up, subscribe to everyone's channels, follow them on their social media accounts. Again, Joe, Kristen, Sean, Jaren, AJ, it's been a pleasure, guys. Hope you all are staying safe out there. We'll see
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Yep. Thank you.